And just like that, we're live. So welcome to the show, David Potts. I appreciate you coming out. So you listen to the show, you know how we do it. Like, I don't do notes. I don't do interviews. I just hang out and get to know people. I think that's the most efficient way to make conversations authentic. Obviously I'm going to give you the platform, but just to kind of preface it for listeners, David is a coach at the CrossFit Gym that is co-located with my Jiu Jitsu academy. And I always figured you were just this super stud savage because you're always working out with your shirt off and you're coaching down there and you're always doing your thing. And it wasn't until, what was that, a week or two ago, you shared a picture from 7 years ago.
Yeah, which was the first time too that I've shared stuff like that publicly. I would mention it, to people here and there.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give them the whole story, I would just say, hey, this is your journey and you're in the right spot. Here's where I was and you can do it too.
Yeah.
And I just keep it kind of, yeah.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like for people that are in very good shape, I get this a lot. People are like, well, you don't know what it's like. And that's the truth because I've been in and out of shape, but I've never been fat or obese. Mm-hmm. And so when people come at me with that, you don't know what it's like, to a certain extent, that's true because I haven't been in those shoes before. And then when I saw you, and I mean, you weren't just out of shape, you would be considered fucking obese.
Yeah.
And like I texted you earlier, I said, it's not only your physical body, but man, your eyes. The look in your eyes was a look of pain and misery. And when I saw that in your face, because and I don't know you very well, we see each other in passing a lot, but you seem to have a positive energy to you. When I talk to like my wife and Angie, who work out downstairs with you guys and interact with you guys a lot more, they say the same thing. Like, David's fucking awesome. He's a wealth of knowledge and he always has great energy. Bro, in that picture, it wasn't great energy. It was misery.
Right.
And so when I saw that, I was like, man, this is a fucking guy that went from that dark place that a lot of people are stuck in to becoming someone that's not only physically fit, but I can tell it did a lot for your spirit too. And that's what's missing in society. And so I'm excited to really like go down this journey and figure out where it all started. But let's do exactly that, man. Take me back to like where you grew up, the life you lived as a kid, and we'll just fucking go down the whole story, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you want to go back there because I think to tell the story, I think that's where we have to go. So yeah, basically, I came up, I'm just an average dude. I'm an average Joe guy. Still am to this day, just with a different outlook on life for sure. But I grew up in a blue collared family. I would say just above the poverty line. I grew up in Los Angeles in kind of a rougher neighborhood.
What part of LA?
I was in Culver City.
Okay.
So kind of Santa Monica, Venice Beach area. Grew up on a tough street. Seen a lot of gang violence and stuff like that. And so I mention that because not everybody comes from this great house, and that basically when we were growing up, I always had a roof over my head and my parents were awesome. And I didn't necessarily have that kind of a bad childhood, but money was tight. And so we had to stretch that dollar, and how do you stretch that dollar? Well, it was things like Hamburger Helper, right? You can get a $2 pound of beef with a $2 box of this, and that feeds a family of four.
Top ramen.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, unhealthy food is substantially cheaper.
Yep, absolutely, and it's easy, and so that's kind of how I grew up was eating that way, living that way. Anything to kind of stretch that dollar was kind of like a focus, so that we could keep the bills paid, the roof over the head and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I did some sports. Wasn't necessarily good at anything. Was a chubby kid. Because, looking back now, it was 100% because of what I was eating, it was just garbage.
And What year was that, would you say? Or when did you grow up?
So I grew up, I'm 39 now.
Okay, so we're roughly the same generation.
Yeah, I'll be 40 in a couple months.
So the 80s kids,
yeah,
that was like the first generation where all the TV dinners and the microwavable shit, and people didn't know how detrimental it was. Like our parents it was what it was, you know?
Yeah. And especially having two parents that were working hard full time, you know, sometimes two jobs, you know, my mom would work two jobs, you know, just to get that in. So when you see a frozen pack of Salisbury steaks for $5, you know,
yeah, exactly.
That's the obvious easy thing to do. And if you need to stretch that a little bit further, you mix it with a box of minute rice, you know, and your belly's full and you're happy. But deep down you're not, you know?
Yeah.
And a life of that. So, I mean, it just started to catch up with me big time.
So you say even as a kid, you were a little chubby.
Yeah. So
like, did you even, I mean, as a 10-year-old, cause I see this all the time at my kids' school when I'm picking them up, and you see how many youth are not just a little chubby, but dramatically overweight.
Oh yeah.
And I think how sad it is, because I'm like, man, those kids, they don't even know that they're becoming metabolically sick at 10 years old. You know, like, did anything even feel off or strange, or is that's just life as a fat 10-year-old kid?
That was just it. Yeah, that was it. And it's really interesting that you say 10-year-old kid, because at 10 years old, I wanted to try out for the Pee Wee football team, and they had a weight limit of 120 pounds. And so I showed up to tryouts, and they weighed in the bigger kids to make sure you're not just out there smashing, you know, younger kids. And I was 121 pounds.
Like, you're out of here,
at 10 years old. So they said, well, you can try and drop weight real quick. Tryouts are going all day long. So as a kid, I was out running the stairs to try and sweat out everything I got. You know, I'm going to the bathroom. I'm doing everything that I can. And finally, at the end of the day, later on that afternoon, I went in, private locker, stripped down completely naked, and barely made it at like 119 and a half.
Dang,
to get on to the Pee Wee thing. And looking back now, like, that was kind of actually traumatic, you know, like, to be this kid that has to like strip down just to do this, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, your parents trying to make you feel good. You know, you're just husky, you know what I mean? You're going to make a great nose guard, you know? Yeah. All that sort of stuff. So I did that a little bit, and that's kind of, as I went up into high school, I wanted to wrestle and stuff like that. And it was kind of the same thing. I was a bigger kid. And I could never make varsity because I had this one kid at 155 who was just a leaned out savage. And I had this other one at 162, which was the next weight class up, who was equally as strong. So here I am stuck. Like, I can't go down. I can't go up. There's no way I'm dropping down to 145, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like JV wrestling kid, you know what I mean? And that was only so cool, you know what I mean? I wanted it because I really liked wrestling. I really wanted to do it, you know, but I could never make that team. So the interest quickly just kind of evaporated.
Yeah.
And then, but baseball, you know, I played baseball quite a bit, was pretty good at it too. But it just,
and maybe I'm just ignorant, but is baseball a sport that keeps you in shape?
I think it is if you're actively doing it, but I was the catcher. You know, I was the
yeah.
So I was the big guy that was crouched down, and
so you had a good deep squat, good hip mobility.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't let the ball get past you, big boy. You know what I mean? So, and then it was just like I was relying on myself to just hit dingers, so I didn't have to run past, you know, second base. So, but yeah, so growing, I mean, and sports never really just kind of panned out. My parents divorced when I was young, about 5, and then my mom remarried, and And it was cool for me. Like, I don't have one of those stories where like my parents are divorced and this and that. I mean, to me, I look at it like I actually grew up with two dads. You know, they were both actively involved in my life. One was more this mechanic, blue collar type dude into hunting, shooting, and all this. And then the other one was into sports, total kind of rocker. And you know, spent some time in the Army, was airborne. And so I just kind of grew up with like this, you know, awesome circle, you know, of I could do whatever I want. You know, I'd be with my dad on the weekends and we'd be out riding dirt bikes and shooting guns. And then I'd be home during the week, and my stepdad was my baseball coach and stuff like that.
Got it. That's a pretty cool perspective to hear, because like very rarely do you hear a story of divorce actually enriching someone's life. You know what I mean? So that's cool. Yeah, it
was good. And they were just good people, you know? So, but kind of fast forwarding a little bit, my stepdad was a carpenter, and work in California was just not happening. Kind of towards the end of the 80s, and early 90s. And so we moved up here to Washington. We actually moved up to his family's property on a farm in Arlington.
Okay.
So here I am, this kind of kid coming from West Los Angeles to a farm. You know, it was like a total
huge culture shock.
Yeah, I was like, man, what is going on? You know, I remember going down to like the Fred Meyers or something like that, and people not locking their car doors, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, these guys are idiots. Like, they're gonna come back out, and the car's gonna be gone. You know. But it was the same thing. It was so living on that farm, they raised all their own food and stuff like that, but it was the exact same thing, very just above the poverty line, and kind of a community thing up there. Everybody's putting in their food and their money to get by, and we're living in these, you know, mobile home kind of shacks on this farm. And so it was the same exact thing. Like, how do you stretch that dollar? Well, you do it with big crock pots full of potatoes and, you know, rice and pastas and all this stuff. But again, we were happy because our bellies were full.
Yeah.
We had roofs over our heads, you know. And I think that's I think people get caught up so much in that comfort. Like, I've got food in my belly, so I'm surviving. But man, if I could go back and realize that I was actually dying.
Yeah. No, and dude, I say that, like, me and my mom have talked about this a lot too, because she did a lot of like home cooking, right? So I can't sit here and bitch, because I had good home cooked meals every single day. And she also made my lunch and packed a lunch for me every day when I went to school. But then also there was the candy drawer. There was the pantry with just filled with Pepsi, and I could eat as much Reese's Pieces peanut butter cups and cans of Pepsi as I wanted as a kid. If I wanted to have 10 cans of Pepsi at night, no big deal, right? Because there just was a complete, I mean, I guess, I don't know if I want to say ignorance, because I guess that is what it would be. They didn't know that stuff was poison. Right. And if you don't know it's poison, you're probably not averse to your children eating it. And, you know, when I talk about that with her these days, she's always like, well, you turned out just fine, didn't you? And it's like, it's not that I'm fine or that I'm not fine. It's that if we could go back and change the foods and the beverages that we were drinking to become stronger and more resilient, have a healthier body, man, that's something that everybody should do. So I look at it as an opportunity for me as a parent to try and not make the mistakes that our parents made in that generation, you know?
Well, and we have to. And I think if there's one thing that I hope this podcast does, is that this message gets out to parents, because it starts with them.
Yeah, for sure.
And kids, I mean, we're raising them. They don't know any different. You know what I mean? You give them this, they think it's okay. My son is 8 years old and has never tasted soda. He's never had a Happy Meal. Some parents look at me and go, well, you're depriving that kid of his childhood and stuff like that. And it's like, well, hang on, because let me keep telling this story. And I'll show you how that, ruined my life. Like, yeah, so.
It's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah. The way I look at it is, once you parents know that this stuff is bad. And there's so much peer-reviewed data out there at
Yes.
this point that once you know that and you still continue to do it,
it almost feels criminal, man.
yeah.
I see these morbidly obese kids again, like when I'm going to my kid's school, and it makes me angry at the parent. Like, I literally want to walk up to him and be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You're poisoning this young child. And you know what? Like you said, there's so much data out there now. I know a lot of people don't know how to get fit and how to get in shape because it's a long, arduous path that we're going to talk about in detail, right?
Yeah.
But if I were to say to most human beings, I should say most people in America, hey, design a healthy meal for me. What would that look like? Not something that you like, not something that tastes delicious. If I asked you to make a healthy plate of food for me, what would it look like? I think most people now would say it's like fruits and vegetables and proteins, you know?
Yeah.
But nobody wants to live by that. That's the bizarre thing, you know?
Yeah. And they don't at all. And I just, people think that I'm crazy, and it's like, no, you're crazy, you know, and your doctor and your body is going to eventually tell you that, you know, if you're smart enough to listen.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're not smart enough to listen. Maybe you're just lazy, and when your doctor tells you that, and then he says, well, here's this pill and we can drop your blood pressure and we can get your glucose under control. Maybe you're, you know, that kind of, well, I guess I'll just say it. Maybe that messed up that you're like, okay, well, that's easier, so I'm going to take it. And I feel like that's what is actually happening quite a bit.
Well, you listen to the show, so you know that I'm a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. But it's big business keeping people fat and sick. That's the truth.
It 100% is.
And everybody's so used to, you show up to the hospital and you get this pill or you get that pill, and that's how we treat whatever ailment is presenting. And I don't know if I've shared this story on the podcast before, but my buddy Sheely, I don't know if you know Sheely. He's one of my best friends, and he's a physician. And somebody showed up to his clinic, morbidly obese, like a bunch of inflammation issues in his legs and fluid buildup and diabetes and all of this stuff, right? And he goes, hey, man, the truth is you need to start moving your body. I want you to get out in the sun more often, do walks when the sun is out, start drinking water and eating meat and vegetables. And the guy filed a complaint against him because he said, you didn't prescribe me any medications. You just told me that I'm fat and I need to eat healthier and walk. And I was like, dude, that's where we're at. Where a doctor telling you the keys to success gets complaints filed against you. Because our society is so used to, you show up, you got this issue, here's your prescription. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, it really is. I think what am I now? I'm now a teenager, I think, in the story. And same kind of thing. Except for now my mom and my stepdad have divorced. So he's still in the picture, but not so much, and we still have a good relationship. We're just not seeing each other all the time. But basically, now it was myself and my sister and my single mom. And my dad stayed in California, and he stayed there mainly because he had a really good job. He was able to provide money, provide insurance, and all that. And he regrets making that decision. You know, he's like, the worst thing I ever did was let my family leave. You know,
Fuck, that's heavy, man.
It is, you know, especially over something like money. But when you live just above that poverty line, that money,
you're shackled to it.
Exactly.
You know?
And so
mom decided to stay local in Arlington then?
Yep. Local in Arlington. And then eventually into Everett.
So back to the hood.
Yep. Back to the hood I go.
Not Culver City hood, but
right.
Yeah.
But, a different type of hood.
I mean, North Everett, when we were teenagers, was fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's where I was.
Okay.
Right on Marine View Drive, Chestnut, all those areas. And it was bad. And so I transferred over to that Everett school district. And because I wasn't an athlete or anything like that, and I wasn't necessarily obese overweight, I was still that husky kid, you know.
Yeah.
You're just husky, you know.
You're big boned.
Yeah, big boned. So I didn't have any positive type of friends or anything like that to hang around with. So I naturally kind of went to that bad circle clique, you know, and kind of was hanging out with those people. And along with that came the teenage drinking, the smoking, drug use, stuff like that. And there's a saying that your vibe attracts your tribe.
100%, bro.
And I didn't hear that until probably 5 years ago, but I say it to myself all of the time. And I look back now and it's 100% it. Like my whole entire life, my vibe attracted my tribe.
Yeah. Well, and something I say on the show often is you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
So it's the same type of thing. Like, did you attract them or did they attract you? But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're hanging around people that are on a low vibration, that aren't trying to better themselves, that aren't seeking to make improvements in their life, guess what? You're probably not going to either.
Yeah. And, you know, and these other kids, they were just like me. Their parents didn't have a lot of money. A lot of them were single parents too. So there was that kind of a natural bonding that I think when you're that age, you find comfort in just having a bond, what good, bad, or
for sure.
Neutral.
You know you guys are enduring together.
Yeah, exactly.
You
know? And so, you know, we would hop around from friends to friends' house and, you know, eating snacks and making, you know, it was always 1 meat, 1 cheese. Can I get 1 meat, 1 cheese, you know, and nobody had anything good in, you know, in the pantry. So we were just eating whatever we could, when we could. And my mom was working a couple jobs. And I decided that, I need to kind of be the man of the house now. You know, at this point I'm like 16 or something like that. And I'm trying to become a man, let's say, you know, or what I thought that version of a man was supposed to be.
Which is a natural progression.
Yeah.
As a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
you know?
100%. So, was working some jobs, worked, you know, never fast food, but like I worked at a hamburger stand that was, in Everett on Broadway. It's not there anymore, but Dag's Hamburgers. It's pretty good. It's kind of like a Herfe's type thing. And so that became my food because that was free meals.
Yeah.
I'd go in and I'd pick up shifts just for extra money to be able to pay for my own stuff and help my mom out and stuff like that. And provide for my sister. And, but the whole time I'm eating, you know, cheeseburgers and stuff like that. And then like that money, that wasn't enough money. And I was still hanging out with these bad guys, you know, and stuff like that. And they were making a lot of money selling drugs and stuff like that. So it's like, well, shit, if, you know, why not maybe try that instead of coming home smelling like pickles all the time?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I went off on that bad path for a little bit, you know, had, you know, a few like run-ins with the law and all that. And I guess the reason why I want to tell a lot of things is because there's a lot of boxes out there that I'm going to check that people are using for excuses.
For sure.
And
yeah.
So you can tell me whatever you want. I've
probably been there, done that, right?
Yeah, probably had some part of that in my life. And so don't let that hold you back, you know?
Well, I think a lot of people are just looking for something to hold them back.
Oh, 100%.
Because that allows them to stay in a victim mentality. And as long as you're in the victim mentality, you can put blame elsewhere. And then that's the lie you tell yourself to why you can't get out of where you're at, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that. I think that's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
And the truth is, because I lived in LA for a long time as a deputy, and well, I didn't live in LA, but I worked in LA. And I saw that I worked in Compton and South Central in the hoods. And the truth is, those people have less opportunity than like how I grew up. I grew up in a stable 2-parent household that made good money. And so that is the truth. But the other side of that coin is there are certain aspects of life that are circumstance, and you can allow that to define you, or you can break that cycle. And you can do that no matter where you're from. And you have to believe that, you know?
Yeah. And that's, yeah. And I wish people did believe that. I wish more people did believe that. Because it seems like, you know, there's almost this thing like, to be able to say that you're held back and something's holding you back, there's almost this like stigma around that, like, oh man, I could do this, but you know, this is where I come from, or this is who my parents were. Well, fuck that. Like, I don't buy that.
Well, and I've, especially over the last 2 to 3 years, I mean, you've seen like the crazy shift that my life took.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what happens to you does come back to the power of visualization and believing and all of these things that you have to do to take yourself to the next level. But it also works the other way. If you tell yourself, I can't, I never will, poor me, then that's basically ensuring that you are going to stay stuck in that place. Right.
For sure. But yeah, so I got an opportunity through a boyfriend of my mom's.
I thought you were going to say through a boyfriend. I was like, whoa, this story just took a weird turn.
No. We're not going to go down that road. So he was a concrete foreman, and he kind of seeing how I was living and stuff like that, you know, and the friends I was hanging out with, you know, even came to pick me up one night when the cops had me, you know, and he said, hey, if you want to go to work, man, you want to make good money, I'll take you to work with me. And I had never been one to steer away from any hard work or anything like that. So I was like, well, yeah, let's go. You know, I mean, my dad was a carpenter, you know, like I can do this. And
you were what, 16, 17?
I was like 16, yeah, and it was summertime. And so I went out and I worked all summer, packing concrete forms, back and forth. And
so you were CrossFitting before CrossFit existed.
Yeah, exactly. Functional fitness. And that was good, man. And I was making good money for a 16-year-old kid. It was like $15 an hour or something like that back then. And so next thing you know, like I had a bunch of money and it was legal. And all of a sudden I started kind of being the cool kid in a way, you know, because I would go out and I would go to work in the morning and I would come back and I was still hanging out with the same dumb kids, but I had just as much cash in my pocket as they did, if not more. And I wasn't ducking from the cops and all that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stashing stuff from my parents and worried about all that, you know? And so all of a sudden it's kind of like, well, this is cooler, you know? And it makes more
that's
sense.
cool that example actually kind of resonated with them.
Yeah.
You know, because I could see some kids looking at it the opposit, like, oh, you bust your ass all day, I don't have to do shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. And so I did that that kind of got me hooked that summer actually in construction. And it was like, man, this is kind of the way to live. And I knew that I had to make money, you know what I mean? I did okay in school. I'm definitely not the smartest dude out there. But I couldn't wait to get out of school. I couldn't wait to get out of school and just get into the world and start making some money, especially in construction, because it wasn't like it made sense to me. Like things clicked. I didn't feel like, you know, I didn't need some degree or anything like that. You know, I just had to go out there and bust my ass. And
which is another key point for listeners to take in, because even to this day, it's a great path for kids that don't want to go waste a bunch of time and money at college.
Right.
You know, and I think the trades right now are probably the most lucrative path for young kids.
Oh, they 100% are. And I mean, there's the rate of retirees at this point is crazy. I mean, it's all the baby boomer type stuff, you know, all this big generation is retiring, and there's not kids coming in because everybody wants to be a YouTuber or, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's great for me because it's driving our wages up because we're in high demand, and, you know, and there's not enough of us to go around. But it's a solid way of life. It's a solid living. It's all I know. It's all I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy doing it. And that's kind of a big thing. And not only does it pay very well, but I enjoy doing it.
I think there's something inherent in our brains, and I've never worked in the trades, but I have done a lot of work with my hands just on personal projects and building things. And I don't care how skilled you are, when you're done with a project and you look at it and it's cabinets, or like, I'll show you my dog kennel downstairs that I made by cutting out the section underneath our stairs. And it's like, when you get done with something, you sit back and admire it. It feels rewarding.
Oh, 100% it does. Yeah. Especially especially when you literally have no idea what you're doing and you're just going to take on this project, and you're going to read about it. You're going to watch YouTube or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're going to sit back and you're going to look at that and be like, man, it's not about the money that I saved. It's the fact that I was able to do that myself. Didn't have to pay anybody. And it's just awesome. It's a rewarding feeling.
And I can tell you, because I graduated college and did very well, I never felt that sense of satisfaction after like a college report.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah. Well, it's my friends, you know, they all went off to college. And at that point, I'm jumping ahead just a little bit, but I was a year early in high school. So I got done with high school when I was 17. A lot of kids are 18.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got out of that, I was trying to find whatever I could do for work. So I was working at this barbecue restaurant. I couldn't find nobody would hire legitimately hire a 17-year-old kid to come out on a construction site. I found out later that like I was basically a day laborer, you know, that all these guys were doing, paying me cash under the table, and I didn't know and I didn't care. But to legitimately get hired, you got to be 18. You're not really supposed to use power tools, you know, for the L&I standards until you're 18. So I cooked in a barbecue restaurant up in Everett that was awesome. It was a local family that owned it, and I enjoyed it. And I was slinging barbecue left and right, and I was making a ton of money again. So again, I didn't kind of have to go back to that life, you know what I mean? Even though I was still hanging around with the same knuckleheads, you know what I mean? We were still doing the same things, you know. They're out there grinding, you know, in a different way. And I'm coming home with more money now in my pocket than they were making. And again, just legal and legitimate. And so and that was kind of cool. So I did that. But again, I was eating nothing but barbecue and cornbread. And when you're young, maybe you can pull it off for a little bit, because I wasn't seeing dramatic weight increases when I was that age. I was just thick, you know. I was husky.
Do people ever see dramatic weight increases though, or do you think it sneaks up on them?
Oh, it sneaks up. Yeah,
you know?
I think it sneaks up over time, and that's kind of the whole point of this is you need to figure it out soon, you know, and parents need to figure it out now for this next generation.
Well, and it's something I've said on the podcast a lot. Like, if I can't see my six pack, bitch, we got a problem, you know? And to 40-year-olds, that may sound silly or vain, but it's not that the six pack defines you or you need to have a six pack, but it lets you know that's the beginning of it creeping up on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't have to try and be ripped, but you have to have some type of metric to know, like, okay, because if I gain 4 pounds of 10 pounds, whatever it is, and it raises my body fat percentage to a point where I don't look lean anymore, if that doesn't alarm me, then next year it might be another 4 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And next year it might be another 4 pounds. And now 10 years of that lifestyle, you're carrying 40 pounds of weight around. And that's fucking dramatic, dude.
Yeah. And before you know it, I mean, that picture that you've seen of me, I didn't know it was that bad at the time.
Bro.
I mean,
and so for listeners, I used that picture for the YouTube thumbnail as a before and after. And that dude, every time I look at it, I see how big your gut is, and it's shocking. It almost looks like a Photoshop. And I'm like,
well, you commented and said Photoshopped, and I don't think you were joking. They're like,
bro, like, I was just like, this cannot be David Potts, because you might not know this being you, right? But you're the guy now. Do you know what I'm saying by that? Like, when people come to the gym looking for fitness, they see you and they say, that's what I want to look like, right? And that may sound strange now knowing where you came from, right? But even when I walk in there, and like I said, I've been in pretty good shape my whole life. I walk in there and I see you fucking deadlifting and doing burpees and shit, shredded abs, and I'm like, man, I want to fucking look like Potts, dude. You know? And so it's like, now you're the guy. And it's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm jumping ahead now too. So
well, and it's weird to hear that, but I appreciate it. And I just, if anybody comes in and they want that, like, let's go, because I'm ready. Like, let's make that happen for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
which we'll get to, but
and we can get as sidetracked as we want, because that's how the podcast rolls. But when I told Angie that we were doing the show today, she goes, not only is David awesome, but he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to fitness and nutrition. So it's not just, oh, people see you or whatever. Like, the community knows that you're there, you're available, and that you're a wealth of knowledge. And it's like, fuck yeah, bro. Because that's what it's about, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, just hearing that is thank you, Angie. It's
yeah, because she's a savage too. You know?
Or Jenny, sorry.
No, it was Angie. It was Angie that said that.
But yeah, I just, I mean, we're gonna get to it, but I was dying. I was dying, and I just decided to make a decision, and I'm a wealth of knowledge because I've always almost had this, like, I'm a type A personality. Like, if I do it, I got to do it hard. You know what I mean? Good or bad. And that's kind of where I'm at with this stuff. I mean, so I geek out in it, and I use myself as a guinea pig quite a bit, because if I tell you something, know that it comes from either something that I've personally tried or something that I can back up and justify. I'm not one of these guys that's just going to go spout off a bunch of garbage, and if I don't know the answer, I'll be back tomorrow with it.
Bro, that's a very, very important thing to say as somebody that's in a position of power, right? Because when you're a coach, you're in a position of power. People are looking to you for answers. And it's the same thing in Jiu Jitsu. Like, people think because, oh, I'm this black belt, that I should have all the answers. And a very powerful and important thing to tell your team is, I don't know. Because actually what that does is it lets them know that you have humility and that you have their best interests in mind. And most importantly, that you're never feeding them any bullshit. Because as soon as someone figures out that you're feeding them bullshit, bro, your credibility is gone. And good luck getting that back.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. So yeah, at this point, I'm working in the barbecue place, and I had been a loyal worker. You know what I mean? I had worked every single day. I'd picked up any extra shift that they wanted. And then I hadn't been back home to see my dad or my extended family in California for a long time. And so I told him, I said, I need to take off for the holidays, man. I'm going to go down to California, see my family and stuff like that. And he said, well, that's our, one of our busiest times of the year. I need you, man. You're our lead cook and this and that. And it's like, well, I got to go, man. Like, I'm not going to have another opportunity to do this. And he said, well, if you go, you don't have a job when you come back. And
dude, think about how dark that is to say to a 17-year-old that wants to spend some time with his father.
Right.
Like, I get it, man. If you're some CEO of a company that they're like, everything's hedged on you. Hey, you know what? Your personal life needs to get put on the back burner. Yeah. But for a fucking kid,
right?
Fuck you, Yeah.
And I just said, well, I'm going, and I'll hit you up when I get back. I said I'll be back January 3rd, and if you're real about this, then you won't see me again, and if you're not, I'll be back to to go to work. And he was legit serious. So when I went down to California, by this point, my dad, my stepdad, he was a carpenter, but then as he moved up here to Washington, it sucks to be a carpenter outside in Washington, as he was constantly working in the weather. So he ended up transitioning into electrical and was working for an electrical company. So as I'm in California, spending time with my family, I talked to my stepdad and I said, hey, I don't have a job when I come back. My boss fired me for taking this vacation. And I said, do you know of any type of like labor type work, just anything I can do to make some cash, you know, because at this point I'm still living with my mom and still kind of, you know, wanting to have that money, at least my own money. I don't want to have to ask her for nothing, you know.
Is it the same deal in the electrical trade? Like you got to be 18?
Yes and no. It is, but there's a little bit more leniency in that because you're generally not working in man lifts. You're not, you know, rolling trusses and stuff like that. So, but at that point I was 18. So
I see. So you were good either way. Then.
Yep. So I had turned 18 in December, and so now I'm a man, right?
Bro, blessing in disguise, right? Because you wanted to be in the trades anyways.
Yeah. Like,
if that guy had said, all right, see you January 3rd, maybe you'd still be grilling ribs.
Exactly. Yeah, you know? For sure. Yeah, I've actually thought about that quite a bit because, I mean, really what that guy did by firing me was kind of the best thing that ever happened to me as far as my like
professionally,
professional career.
Silver linings, man. That's we have to find them in everything.
Yep. So, yeah, so my dad ended up getting me a job at this electrical company, and I didn't know anything. So I showed up, and I was just an apprentice. I mean, I was the low man bitch on the totem pole. I just did whatever I was told, and this and that. And
you mean you don't start at the top of the food chain like all these kids want to?
No. Yeah, sorry, kids. It's a grind to the top. And that basically kicked off my electrical career and started to kick off my downturn in my health, really, because
it gets worse, huh?
Oh, we haven't even
we haven't even scratched the surface, huh?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, how are we doing on time? Are we all right?
Bro,
here?
yeah,
okay.
we're 40 minutes in.
All right.
Yeah, we can go up to 3 hours. So
that's crazy. Wow, 40 minutes in.
It goes quick, man.
It does. So being in construction, there's almost some prerequisites you got to have. You got to have a DUI. You got to, be divorced.
Yeah.
That's
the same thing in the military or special operations.
Exactly. Yeah. It's filled of a bunch of people that work really hard and they do good at their job, but they dedicate themselves to that and that's it. They don't, when you go home, I mean, I don't know how many people I know that is just, they get off, they go to that liquor store, they get that bottle, that 6-pack of beer, that gas station hot dog, and that's normal, and then you start off your morning with coffee and whatever sugar energy drink you can, just start your day and kickstart that off.
A Monster and a donut.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're going to go out and you're going to work with your body anyway. So it's all good, right? Like we're doing physical stuff. So I earned that. I need that, to be able to do this demanding job. And man, are you so wrong? Like, because I've never really, you look around at the older guys, the guys that haven't figured this out and they're towards the end of the career, and I mean, they look terrible. You know what I mean? It's, all the smoking cigarettes and drinking and just the hard lifestyle, like it catches up with you. So that was my surrounding. And so again, vibe attracts your tribe, you know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, well now I'm this construction worker. I'm this badass dude, and I'm swinging hammers and doing all this, and we're carpooling and hey, let's stop at the 7-Eleven. Okay, well, I'm gonna go grab myself an energy drink too, and a donut, and yeah, let's go start the day off. And that just was just a vicious cycle for a long time.
So yeah, if you went into the trades at what do you say, 18, right? Yeah. And then you didn't pull it together until 7 years ago. I mean, we're looking at what, 15 years of that routine or something?
Of that, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and that's what it was, and it's accepted too, you know what I mean? I mean, there's videos I see all over Instagram and stuff like that, how to be a construction worker, you've got your cigarettes, you've got your energy drink and stuff like that, and there's a lot of people that are almost proud of it, And,
yeah, it's almost become like its own culture, huh?
It is, yeah, for sure. And it's one that I'm trying to change, but it's a big industry. But yeah, that's the majority of people that you're going to find on a construction site, you know? So then not to get hung up too much on that, I'm a few years in and I'm making stupid money, you know? At this point, I'm a journeyman electrician. I'm making $25 an hour and I'm 20 years old.
Yeah. You're fucking
and I've
rich.
got, yeah, I'm loaded, you know? Also got a fake ID when I was 19. So now I'm like hitting bars with these dudes, right? And living that lifestyle and drinking all the time, constantly, for fun. For me, it was always for fun. I mean, I was definitely, I think what you would classify as an alcoholic. But I don't necessarily look at that. Like I was never, I don't think like dependent on alcohol.
I say the same thing about a lot of Rangers. When I was in the Ranger Regiment with Folk, like we didn't just have a beer or two every night. We would get drunk every night.
Yeah.
But it wasn't oh man, I don't have a drink today and get the shakes or anything like that. It's just the culture.
Just what you did.
We fucking drink all the time.
Yeah.
And that's special operations too, man.
Yep. So while I'm in there with my fake ID and stuff like this, I'm trying to kind of dodge the bartenders and stuff like that. You know, I just want to show them one time, get my beer. And, so I'm kind of usually hanging off in the back, shooting pool or playing darts or something like that. And the more I kept doing it, started to kind of know some people in the bars. And somebody came up to me one day and said, "Hey man, you're kind of good at darts." And, I said, "Oh, that's cool." You know, he's like, "You ever thought of joining a league?" And I said, "No." And the first thing I asked was, "Do you got a show ID for that?" And he says, "No, it's just, you'll go in, you'll get rated for how good you are, and you join a league, and it's 1 or 2 nights a week." And he's like, "I think you should check it out. You're really good." And I'm like, "Okay, as long as I don't have to like scan my ID or anything like that," because it was pretty low budget fake ID. It only worked at the local dives, you know. So I started playing darts, and turns out I was really good at it. And it's
found your calling.
It's sad to say, but it was the first thing in my life that I was like good at, like professionally good at darts, you know, competitively. And guess what? You can make a lot of money doing that too. So,
bro, it's not sad to say. I mean,
well, it's just, actually, so when I look back on it now too, I think that it's sad for me right now because there is so many other things that bring me joy in my life right now.
Yeah.
So the fact that
was what it was
that brought me joy, that's sad for me personally, I guess.
I see.
But man, I had a good time doing it.
But I'm going to guess that culture and that crowd is probably also rooted in unhealthy habits.
100%. Yeah. I mean, now it's almost getting worse because now I'm definitely drinking all the time. I'm eating nothing but bar food because the league nights are at night.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting out of the bar until 10:30 at night, and I'm going home. I'm crashing. I'm waking up in the morning, at 4:30 or something like that, to make sure I'm meeting up with my buddies to go get our energy drink and our donut at 7-Eleven, our breakfast, And so just this, total downward spiral. And in case this is a surprise to you, the people that are hanging out in the bars every night consistently and have to be there, they might not be a part of the, the best thing for you.
Yeah.
If anybody needed that disclaimer. And if that's you, man, go home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go home and hug your wife, or, if you don't have one, find a good one. Because what you're looking for is not in that bar.
Yeah.
Plenty of, crazy women and stuff like that, ruin your life along with that. I had a ton of that stuff, just piss poor relationships.
So just toxicity across the board then.
100%. Yeah.
Like, sure, you're holding down a good job, but everything outside of that was physically and emotionally killing you.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is like our culture, and I don't know if it's necessarily the case anymore because work is no longer celebrated, but like 80s kids, man, as long as you're working, it's all good, right? I don't give a shit if you're emotionally okay. Like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
You know, I don't care. I don't care if you're drinking fucking soda and eating bar food every day. Like, that was just life back then, you know?
Yeah. And you know, a lot of times those type of people have a different outlook on life. You know, they're not looking at things in positive. They're looking at, well, I'm living and I'm getting by, and that's just good enough for me, you know?
So how bad did it get then?
Well, so pretty much to the point where, I think at this point I'm 25. I'm 25, had been doing it now in electrical for like 7 years, made a good name for myself, ended up joining the union, and now I'm making like even more stupid money, you know? I mean, I didn't even have a bank account until I was, I think 24 or 25. I would just like cash that check every Friday. I'd shove a fat wad of cash in my pocket, and throughout the week that you know that would get smaller.
Yeah.
But didn't matter because Friday
Yeah, you
came
knew.
and it filled it up again, you know, so I could do whatever I want. I could go to Jack in the Box. I could drink as much as I wanted, you know. I mean, it's almost a bad thing getting paid every week.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, 25, I joined the union, and I started to get more into a management position. I started to become a foreman, and so I was running crews and not so much being active anymore. You know, I wasn't.
You're not swinging that hammer.
Wasn't swinging the hammer. I was more, you know, delegating, working a little bit, and then next level up, general foreman. So now I'm not doing anything. In fact, I'm not even really allowed to work with my tools. You know, I'm strictly management at that point. So I'm stuck in an office. My stress level goes way up. You know, I had to worry about more than just showing up, putting my 8 hours in, and going home. I mean, I was in charge of sections of multi-million-dollar projects. You know.
Yeah.
And the combination between the not being active, the high stress environment, still wanting to party, you know, maybe not as much, but I'm still drinking on the weekends and stuff like that. And I'm still single at this point. And packing my own lunches now, because now that I'm in the union, it's a little bit stricter. You know, I wasn't like jumping around in a van and being able to go from job to job and just swing through a drive-through. You're on a bigger project, and so you've got to.
You're kind of attached to that.
Yep, you're attached to it. You don't have time. You got that half hour to go get your lunch, you know. So I start packing lunches for myself, and of course, you know, what is that? That's white bread sandwich with bologna and mayonnaise and mustard and you know, all the things that I grew up on as a kid. It's what I knew. And so I start to notice that things are feeling different in my body. And at this point, I'm definitely like, okay, I'm overweight. I'm a thick husky.
What did you weigh at that point? Do you remember?
In that photo, which was 2015, I was 265 pounds.
Okay.
And that was my worst. That was my peak. And I'm 188 pounds today.
Yeah. And what are you? 6 foot?
5'11".
5'11". Okay.
Yep. So I started to notice things wrong with me, like chest pains, and anxiety, like, and it's actually something I don't quite still understand to this day, the anxiety. But I would just get anxious, and I would always have this fear of that I was actually dying.
Bro, I don't think that's strange, because I mean, I talk about it on the show all the time. Mind, body, spirit is all interconnected, right? So if your body is physically dying, even at 30 years old or whatever you were, it's slowly dying, that should cause some type of anxiety in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's a subconscious level of it.
Yeah. And it was getting to the point where it was pretty bad. I was getting, tingling down my arms and tingling down my legs. At the same time, I'm having chest pains. Right. And And I'm like, well, this isn't good. Like, I know enough, at this point, like I'm CPR first aid certified, watch the warnings of stroke, watch, watch the warnings of heart attack. And it's like, okay, I think I'm legit having a heart attack. And one night it got so bad that I was home by myself, and I'm laying in bed, and my whole left side is completely numb, and I'm clenched to my chest.
Fuck.
Just like a typical heart attack type scenario, right? And so I reach over and I grab my cell phone and I call 911, and I said, I think I'm having a heart attack, and I'm freaking out, right? And I'm frantically talking, and the dispatcher's telling me, we're sending somebody.
Chewing aspirin.
But yeah, she actually did say that I didn't have any. And then she said, I'm going to talk you through this, and I'm going to let you know that I don't think you're having a heart attack, because the way you're racing around right now and like fast paced talking, like that doesn't tell me that you're having a heart attack, but we got somebody coming to check you out anyways. So the ambulance shows up and they hook me up to everything, hook me up to a mobile EKG and stuff like that, tell me that my heart's fine and this and that, but my blood pressure's through the roof.
What was it? Do you remember?
It was up there like 200 over something. And a lot of that was obviously the experience that I was just going through.
Yeah.
But the guy said, what'd you eat for dinner? And I said, well, I had some Jack in the Box tacos, and I had a jumbo jack, and I put French fries on it, and I squeezed a packet of mayonnaise on it, like just disgusting, right? Like,
I mean, probably delicious,
yeah,
but fucking disgusting.
Right. And so he goes, I think you've got like a severe case of indigestion. And I'm like, well, what does that even mean? What do you mean? He's like, I think you're having really bad heartburn. And I'm like, no, but my leg is numb, like my toes are tingly and this and that. And he starts talking to me about like construction and stuff like that. And he says, well, I'm not trying to make this sound any bad for you or, anything like that, but there's a good chance that, you're a little overweight.
He didn't want to say you're just a fat fuck.
Right. Exactly. He didn't, you know what I mean? But he said the pain that you're telling me where you're pointing at and the numbness that you're experiencing is your sciatic nerve, that, runs down your leg. And, he's like, so you're all good. You know what I mean? So they end up giving me some Malox, extra strength. Right. And I take it and I drink a little bit of water, and then like almost instantly, boom, it goes away. And I'm like, I just called 911
for indigestion.
Right?
Isn't that crazy? There's been times when I've went in because I've felt like there's a problem, and you're almost let down that there's not.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, that's the fucking best case scenario, right?
It is. Right. Yeah, it is. But so now I'm like, okay, well, I just have indigestion, and Malox can cure that. So I just kept rolling, right?
Damn it. I thought this story was going to be the wake up point.
No, I just kind of kept rolling. And because of how much of a weirdo, I guess I'll say that I am, I just had Malox with me wherever I went. I had a bottle of water with me wherever I went, and that allowed me to just continue down this lifestyle.
Fuck, it goes back to what we said at the beginning. Like, hey, if there's a pill that cures it, now we're good, right?
Yeah.
So fuck, man.
Yeah.
It just allowed you to think, yeah, I'm good for that much longer.
Yep.
Because you should be feeling fucking pain.
Yeah.
If you're eating a bunch of poisonous shit all day.
Right.
That was your body screaming at you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, motherfucker, things are bad inside of here. Because guess what? You don't get indigestion when you eat a chicken breast and an apple.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's just, it was begging me to do something other than put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
Which is the only thing that's getting prescribed today is Band-Aids, So I just kept rolling with it for a few more years at least. But what started getting worse was the anxiety, and this is the part that I haven't really shared this too much with people, but the the anxiety was bad, like bad to the point where I didn't feel like I could function. I didn't feel like I could go places. I had to have my kit with me, almost like a drug addict or something like that. I had to know, that I had my Maalox, I had water. I was constantly thinking about, like, anytime I would get these pains now I'm constantly thinking back, okay, well, what did I eat? Well, man, I don't think I ate anything that was bad. So maybe this actually is something serious, so maybe I should go to the doctor again. Maybe I should call 911. I don't know. And it was just
a constant state of fucking fear and confusion.
All the time. All the time.
Fuck, man.
And somewhere along the lines, I had developed this anxiety about taking things. And I still almost have a little bit of that today. So, like, I mean, I went to the doctor at one point and I said, hey, man, I'm not feeling right, this and that. And he's like, well, you're just anxious, and that's a very common thing, you know what I mean? And so we have this this pill that you can take it's just going to take the edge off just a little bit, you know what I mean? So that you can function.
Yeah, let's numb you further.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And I said, well, that's not going to work for me, because part of my anxiety somehow, I don't even really know how it kind of came about, is I don't want to take things, which is weird, because I'm totally willing to slam Jack in the Box down my face, and all this other stuff, but I couldn't take narcotics. Like, I couldn't take Vicodin and anything like that. I'd have teeth pulled and they'd give me Vicodin and I couldn't take them. It was just this weird thing.
Bro, I'm very similar.
Yeah. And
I think a lot of people are. I don't think that's that weird. And there's different reasons. People have their different reasons, but I was the same thing. I had knee surgery and came home and flushed them all. And I was like, I don't want to know what that's like. And I also recently had a friend get addicted to heroin after a back injury, and it fucked him. Like, we're talking like druggy, stealing shit, from a good guy to that. And so it's like, I can see how people have different reasons for being reluctant to that stuff,
Yeah. And it's good. It's actually, if I could say anything positive about it, like, if that's your thing, that, if you don't want to take something, like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I look back now thinking like that was a good
blessing
thing.
in disguise. Yeah.
Yeah. But everything that they had to fix me was in some way, some sort of a medication pill form or something like that my anxiety wouldn't allow me to take. So I'm stuck, right? Like, there's nothing that can fix me at this point. And so I just kind of rolled with it. And I ended up meeting my wife. I kind of skipped past that a little bit, but she was my best friend's sister, and he also was my my apprentice that I worked with. And I was picking him up from work one day, and had never met her yet before, but I came into his house and there was a picture of her on the wall, and I said, "Oh, who's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's my sister," And I said, "Oh, right on, bro." I said, "We're gonna be brother-in-laws someday."
Sure as shit.
Yeah.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually glad that you interjected that, because I was going to ask, because I think that's an important part, because she met you and she formed a relationship with you when you were in a bad way.
Well, she doesn't look at me in a bad way.
Well, obviously, if she decided to marry you, she doesn't look at you in a bad way.
Right.
But I'm saying, like, to come into your life when you were overweight and sick and anxious, like, she got a front row seat to this transformation.
Yeah, a little bit. And she's a huge part of it. I mean, she's literally my rock. That I almost lost, you know what I mean? And we'll get to that part too,
Yeah.
But yeah, she knew who I was, loved my personality and this and that. And because I ended up, being best friends with her brother, we were around a lot of family functions and stuff like that. And so yeah, fast forward, we start dating. And she's my first, like, legit relationship, like, real deal. I tell her all the time, like, she got the raw end of the deal, because I'm this, construction worker, bad influence, and she's this good girl from Snohomish, soccer player, great parents, 100% opposite of me. But we hit it off, I told her she kind of liked that bad boy thing, she liked the big money construction worker, with the Harley and all this, so we settled into a relationship, and we did what people do in a relationship. We got comfy. And it was Netflix and chill before Netflix and chill was a thing.
Yeah.
It was more, tater tot casserole night on a Friday night and a movie, and we just loved it, and she was in pretty good shape when I met her. And I think I tanked that.
I was gonna say your lifestyle fucking brought her down, huh?
It 100% did. I mean, she started gaining weight right along with me. And we started, at this point I had kind of shifted from any negative type friends that I had and kind of more absorbed her friends, that were more fancy beer drinking and wine drinking, So now I'm kind of this bougie.
So you went from Schmidt Ice to microbrews.
Yeah. Colt 45 actually.
Yeah.
To microbrews, So now we're kind of living this bougie construction lifestyle.
I would guess though that was probably one of the maybe initial steps, because if you're hanging around, even you kind of joke it's bougie beers, but probably a little higher quality group of people, huh?
It was, yeah. Higher quality group of people, for sure. Definitely a lot more of a positive outlook.
See, your vibe was starting to attract a better tribe.
A little bit, yeah. Almost by default though, you know what I mean? Because I was pretty set in my ways, this is what I'm doing. This is how I live. Take it or leave it, and, there was a couple parts where she was like, well, I don't really like that, so I'm going to leave it. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
That was just an empty threat.
Exactly. Yeah. Total empty threat.
You're calling my bluff.
Yeah. I think I can get on board with this.
Women will do that to you, man.
Yeah. So what really started to tank it for me was, I took a job at this point. So at this point now I'm a general foreman. And I'm a part of big projects, I'm a key part of these big projects, and I kind of go where the work is. And a project came up down in Tacoma, and I ended up spending 3 years down in Tacoma driving that every day, 72 miles one way. And
it doesn't matter, because I was stationed down in Tacoma. It even in the fucking early 2000s, from the Narrows Bridge to the Tacoma Dome, gridlock, 24 fucking hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it was,
and it still is.
Yeah. It was okay in the morning, but the afternoons were a crapshoot, and sometimes we legit didn't make it home, something bad was happening. And by the time you made it home, you got to turn around and come right back.
Yeah.
So we'd end up grabbing a hotel or something.
So 3 years of that.
So 3 years of that. Yeah. Almost to a T, 3 years.
Did you even consider moving there for those 3 years?
No, because this was my home. My wife had a good job, and we were making it work. We were carpooling, and again, this was the profession that we chose, and so this is just what you do.
Yeah.
And you make do with it the best that you can, and if you got to eat on the road on the way down there, maybe you're eating dinner on the way home, we'll swing through a drive-through and we'll do that. You know what I mean? And we'll get home if we're gonna be home late, type thing. But at this point, the anxiety is starting to get pretty bad, because not only now, am I starting to feel worse physically, like now I've got this numbness and tingling all the time. And it's either on my arm or in my leg. And guess what? If you start taking enough Band-Aids, they stop working.
Yeah.
So now my Maalox doesn't work anymore. So now I'm like having to deal with this crippling heartburn. And well, there's a stronger one, there's a stronger pill you can take. But again, I can't, because I just got this weird thing. I can't take it, but I'm not at the point yet to say, okay, well, dumbass, like stop eating this stuff. And I almost don't know that I was making a connection with that, you know?
I would guess most people aren't.
Right.
Because if you could make the correlation to like these bad food choices or what's ruining every other part of my life, it seems like a pretty simple conclusion to come to. That's why it shocks me that more people don't come to it. But I think you probably just hit the nail on the head. You're not really even connecting those dots.
No, I wasn't. Well, and I think an important reason to say why was because so now we're eating healthy, right? What we think is healthy. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to fast food anymore. You know, we had kind of cut that out, and we were doing home cooked meals and doing the, you know, the typical lifestyle, right? But those home cooked meals were not good either.
Yeah.
You know, it was still a lot of spaghettis and breads and I mean anything you can think of, you know what I mean? And my wife actually she wasn't that good of a cook. I mean, she was kind of
how dare you?
Yeah. Well, and
Miss Potts is going to listen to this.
Well, and you know, and she'll admit it too, you know, because when she was in college and stuff like that, it was all about like saving money,
of course,
and being lean and stuff like that. So I mean, like she was eating like cans of tuna and green beans and stuff like that, and like living off of that stuff, which was working out for her a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as what I was doing, but our food choices weren't good, you know. I mean, we didn't have good vegetables and stuff like that. It was, you know, I introduced her to my favorite meals, you know,
yeah,
the mac and cheese and Polish sausage, you know, and stuff like that. And so, and she was just eating it, you know, because I was eating it, you know. She knew that that's what I liked, you know, so that's what she made. And she would make some, you know, again, what she thought were healthy meals, you know, but in hindsight, you know, when you're layering that much cheese and that much butter, you know, and all of these things that are designed to make you fat, you can only have so much of that, you know.
Yeah.
Especially with like dairy, you know, that's kind of an interesting one for me because, you know, dairy in its rawest form coming from a cow is designed to feed that baby and make that baby grow, you know, and give it all the nutrients that it needs, you know, to get big and healthy and fat, right? Well, I'm not a baby anymore, so why am I consuming all of this dairy, right?
Yeah.
And eventually that clicked for me.
You're also not a baby cow.
Right, yeah, exactly. I'm not a baby cow.
No, man, the thing about like all of the nutrition stuff, it's almost a fucking science that is, even now, I mean, I have a fucking degree in this shit, and I know what I can eat to get me super, super lean, right? And I can do that. And then just like when I got off of 75 hard, I didn't start eating pizza and hamburgers, but I added in peanut butter and a little more milk and just a couple other things like that. And I'm already noticing I'm not as lean as I was.
Right.
And it's like, okay, my body is starting to accumulate a little more fat, and I'm not eating shit. I'm just eating a little more calorically dense foods, like nut butters will fucking get you, and they'll get you quickly. Yeah. And so I'm going back on strict diet October 11th, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I already know your answer to this, but when you eat that nut butter, are you full? Are you satiated? Are you, you know?
Well, bro, I got to eat a whole fucking jar of it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many calories is that, right? How many servings is that?
I'll tell you right now, because when I did 75 hard, I said steak and apples. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm eating. And then I was like, maybe I'll add almonds in. Because, you know what I mean? Like, almonds aren't bad for you, right? Well, they're not bad for you. But when you get a jar of 100% natural almond butter, you can sit down and you can eat that whole fucking thing in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you look, and I forget how many calories were in that jar, but it was like 3,500 or something. It's super, super calorically dense.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to fucking work for you. But I'm also super gluttonous. Like, one of the reasons that I thrive on a super, super restrictive diet is because if it's not super restrictive, I'm just, okay, I'll eat a whole jar of almond butter. Exactly. It's like almond butter is not bad food, but I ate a whole jar of it. Well, now it is a bad food.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. I'm gluttonous the same way, even to this day.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it a little bit different, which we'll get to, but, so yeah, so now, yeah, my wife and I are both, nice and fat and happy. Right. And life couldn't be better. You know, we get married and everything's great and it's just perfect, you know, and then, my son is born, and I'm still in Tacoma. It's getting mentally like bad for me at this point. Like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can continue this drive. I'm freaking out, feeling like I'm dying every day. Moments where I don't know if I got to tap like my carpool buddy. There was 4 of us going down, right? And I would get to the point where I'm sweating and I'm looking around at everybody else and I'm like, well, these guys aren't sweating, you know? What's wrong with me? And my chest is pounding and I can feel my heart, you know, and I'm just freaking the hell out. And I'm away from my comfort person too. Like, yeah. I'm away from home. I'm away from, I mean, she was the one person that could like talk me out of things, you know what I mean? Like calm me down.
For sure.
And I don't have that, you know? And I'm like, something's got to change. Like I got to do something, you know? And so my son is born. And that's kind of another eye-opening thing, you know? I have a friend at work that he's my work wife, you know, like we're partners and,
yeah.
we travel around and we've been together for years. And he was the one that actually said, because not to get too far away, I confided in him one day and I said, hey man, I called him up on the phone and I said, hey, can you come out here to the, I was out on the job site. And he's like, yeah, I'm a little busy. And I said, I kind of need you now, man. And he said, okay, I'll be right there, you know? And he came out and I said, man, I don't know what's going on with me, but I don't feel right. I'm lightheaded. My chest is just pounding, you know? I can't really feel my fingers, you know? And so all of a sudden he starts like, oh shit, this is happening. You know what I mean? And we're working at a hospital, you know? And he's like,
so it's back to heart attack scare.
Yeah. Like, and this time for real, you know, because again, I mean, Maalox wasn't working. The water wasn't working. I thought I was eating healthy, so it can't be indigestion this time. And by this point, like it was just such this vicious cycle that, I was trying to think of anything rational that it could be, and nothing would rationally make sense. And I wasn't connecting that, you know, maybe the lasagna that I ate the night before with all of the pasta sauce and all that wasn't sitting right with me. And so that's when I finally had to come out to him. And I was like, you know, hey man, I don't know what's going on. So we sat down together and he's like, I'm gonna chill with you. Make sure you're all right. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna make sure nothing bad happens to you. And that was like, oh man, I'm calm now. I feel good. I'm chilling out. And I think, I don't know this for sure, but I actually think that I don't know that I was truly actually having heartburn or having these things. I think my mind was causing these pains. And I've done some reading and some looking into that, you know, to where I have no doubt that I was feeling this stuff. I have no doubt that was real, but I don't think it was caused by a food or anything at this point. I think it was caused by my mind.
As almost like a self-preservation mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're fucking yourself.
Right.
It's time to change.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And because there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, the mind is powerful. You know that.
Bro, 100%. Yeah, you can, I mean, like Andy Stump's giving me shit about healing my knee with crystals. But hey, yeah, if your mind believes something, that can manifest into reality. Yeah. That's real, man.
Yep.
And I would guess in your case, it's just almost the opposite, but equal, that you can manifest bad things too.
Yeah. Because I mean, and I just had a lot like stress wise going on too, you know, which I think that's what allows the mind to do things like that to you, because At this point, now I've got a son, I've got a wife, I'm 72 miles away from home. I've been on this grind now for 3 years, you know, and the end is in sight, but it's still like I'm away from everything that I love. I don't feel good. My body hurts at this point. Like, I had all this weird stuff, all these Band-Aids that I would do to make myself feel better. Like my hips would start just killing me, right? And in my mind, okay, well, I just needed new shoe inserts, right?
Yeah. So it's just more of the same.
So I'd go out and I'd buy a new
I'm going to get some super feet and then I'm good.
Just about to say super feet, literally.
Yeah. Bro, when I was a cop, because cops are very similar to construction workers in the fact that it's a lot of compounding unhealthy habits and long days with these unhealthy habits. Mm-hmm. Same thing, man. Like, what's the best insert that I can buy since I have to fucking stand here all day in body armor or whatever it is, you know?
And what kind of sucks in a way is that it works. Like I would buy that pair of super feet,
100%.
My knees and my hips would feel good.
And I'm not bashing on super feet. I still like super feet.
No,
right?
yeah, they work. You know?
But you're right. It's another form of Band-Aid to a certain extent, you know?
Yeah, it was everything. I mean, anything you can think of, I would do, you know, just to kind of limp by this. I had my truck seat reupholstered for like $400 because I was starting to see a massage therapist to try and get some of these like body aches and stuff like that going away. And she's like, oh yeah, your hips are rotated, this and that, you know, but you must be driving a lot. So your hips are out of alignment. Your left hip sits a little bit lower, and that's what can cause the sciatic pain that you're experiencing.
Everything's from my commute.
Yeah.
Got your answer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So I can keep on rolling, you know, so $500 to the upholster, you know, now I got a new truck seat, you know, I'm good to go, you know? But it was the mental part. It was the mental part that I couldn't shake because, it was overwhelming. I mean, and it's, because I was, you know, considered myself to be so important to this job, right? And I can't go take a mental health day. I can't go figure things out. Like I got to be there, but I'm starting to feel like I can't do this anymore. And now that's starting to hit me because this is the only thing I know. This is the only thing I love, you know? And it's starting to mess with my career, you know, everything else, women, friends, money, whatever, like it could all come and go. But this was the one thing that I was passionate about. It was the one thing that I did. And truth be told, it was the only thing that I was good at. So I got to do whatever it takes to make this happen, you know? So Tacoma's done and we get to come back up a little bit, you know, we're up to Seattle and I started to, again, because I can't look into, or I can't take medications and stuff like that. I started to kind of dig into just anything, books or whatever, you know, anything that was catchy. Because at this point, I think mentally, as I look back, I think I'm starting to realize something's not right, you know? And my wife's helping me out with that too, you know, letting me know that, you know, I don't think she knew exactly at the time, but, you know, we were starting to get on the same page that something wasn't right with me.
So was there ever that catalyst moment when it's like, I'm fucking changing now? Or was it like a slow burn where things started to become clear over time?
It was kind of a slow burn. Really just in the sense that, and I know I've forgotten a few things, but in between all that too was multiple doctor visits, right?
Yeah.
And my blood pressure was starting to get constantly higher to the point where they'd go, wow, sir, your blood pressure is really high. It's probably just white coat syndrome.
Let's put you on statins.
Yeah, you're nervous because you're here. So let's take it again at the end of the appointment, you know, you'll calm down and stuff like that. Well, it wasn't coming down, you know? And I think I'm realizing at this point too that all of these aches and pains that I'm feeling are because I'm fat. I'm sluggish. I sit all the time. I'm tied to a computer and a desk. And I don't really want to get up and walk either because that hurts too.
Yeah.
You know? So almost lost track there.
Well, bro, I mean, we're an hour and 24 in. And a big part of this has to be becoming the fucking monster that you are. You know what I mean?
Well,
We're not going to end with 5 minutes of the monster. Like, I really want to hear about once all of these aches and pains compounded to a point where it was unbearable, and now it's time to fucking change. Where did that journey, or what did that journey look like?
So, yeah, we weren't far off from that anyways. So, my good friend at work, now we're on a less stressful job, a little bit smaller size, and he started doing CrossFit, and I knew nothing about anything. I didn't know anything at all.
So what year was this then?
So this was 2015.
Okay.
And
the gym was like, we were already running the gym. You know what I mean? That's crazy to think about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So he was doing this thing called CrossFit, you know, and he knew that I was going through this stuff because, you know, over the years of working together, it wasn't just that one time I confided in him. It was multiple things, you know, and the same thing was happening to him because he actually was a legit athlete. I mean, he played football in college and stuff like that. And so he got fat right along with me. I mean, we were just a couple of fat boys, you know, like,
but he knew what it used to be like
exactly
to be elite.
Yep, he did.
That's the difference. And I talk about it all the time because if you've never been in elite fitness, like, I'm fortunate that I've been in a level of extreme levels of fitness for periods of time. So when I'm outside of that, I know, man, I'm not where I should be. But if you've never been there, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, he knew that I was not in good shape and that I was looking for a change, but I didn't know what that was. And he said, well, I'm doing this CrossFit thing. Why don't you come down and check it out? You know, first class is free. You know, that's how we get you in this cult, you know?
Were you reluctant? Or were you like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try it.
So I was reluctant only because, I didn't, like I said, I had no idea what CrossFit even was.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it is.
That's actually kind of torturous. Like,
yeah,
you don't know what you're about to get into.
Yeah. I had no idea what it was.
What CrossFit was it at?
Rivertown CrossFit. And
that's Snohomish, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So they were kind of one of the originals in this area.
Are they still there?
No, they,
was that the one on First Street?
It was on Bickford, actually, by the, down by the storage units.
Okay.
Down there, kind of right down the road from Home Depot. And so I go home and I talk to my wife about it, and I'm like, hey man, like, he wants me to go do this thing like CrossFit or something like that. And she's like, oh, you should do that. I used to do stuff like that, like, you know, these boot camp workouts and all that. And she's like, I think it would be good for you. You know, I think you might enjoy it, you know? And so I'm like, well, all right, I'll go give it a shot. You know, I'll just go show up, you know? And, so I show up and I meet the owner and he's cool and obviously super inviting, you know what I mean? And I'm seeing all these people like doing things that look cool, but also super scary. And it's like, man, and here's the other funny thing is that I actually felt like there was a small part of me that like, I could do some pull-ups, you know what I mean? Cause I might be husky, but I'm still a strong ass construction dude, you know?
Yeah. Bro, CrossFit and Jiu Jitsu both, that's a notorious thing that people see it and they think I can fucking do that. And then both of those activities will I always tell people the mats don't show you who you are. They show you who you aren't.
Exactly.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
So he gave me kind of his whole spiel and he, you know, wanted me to do this little, just assessment workout, you know, and it's a workout called Baseline, and it's like a 500-meter row, 40 sit-ups, 30 squats, 20 push-ups, and 10 pull-ups, something like that. And so I did that, and that was the afternoon. Like,
do you remember your time?
Yeah, it was like 28 minutes or something like that.
Have you done Baseline since you're a fucking savage?
I do it in 2 minutes and 45 seconds.
Fuck yeah, bro.
So yeah, and then when I got to the pull-ups, you know, I'm like, all right, here I go, and I jump up, and nothing happened. There was no pull whatsoever, and in fact, it hurt on my big fat shoulders, you know.
Yeah, you're fucking. I mean, like, I'll do weighted pull-ups to this day. I mean, if you do a workout where you're pulling 265 pounds,
yeah,
that'd be hard right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
100% it would be. Yeah.
As an elite athlete, let alone a fat construction worker.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did you feel after that first workout though? It was long and hard for sure.
It was, you know, and I'll be honest, like they took it easy on me, you know, and I was sweating
as they should have.
Yeah. And I got a bunch of breaks and stuff like that, but you know, I wasn't able to complete it, and in my mind, this was just kind of this baseline assessment, anyways, you know, and it really didn't matter anything. So little did I know it was like a benchmark workout, and in theory, you know, I was going to be back and I was going to retest that after 6 months of being at this gym. You know, that's kind of how
That's how they do things.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I like that. That's actually an interesting way of, because 6 months of commitment is a lot, but it also goes by quickly.
It is.
And if you can show somebody that the progress like that, I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and most CrossFit gyms will have these typical benchmark workouts in their programming that they do, and that's the whole point, is so that you can go back and you can see, you know, how did I progress, how did I do, you know, but you know, and then he sales pitched me at the end of it, you know, he's like, man, I think you did great, this and that, we'd love to have you, and I remember telling him, you know, it's like, well, I don't know that I can do this, you know what I mean, like it's hitting me now at this point. Like, I'm a big dude, you know? And he's like, bro, look around. He's like, this is the most diverse place you're ever going to see. You know, he's like, there's a 14-year-old kid over there, you know, there's a 65-year-old grandma over there. And everybody in between. He's like, we don't care where you're at. You know what I mean? We meet you at the door and we modify, and that's what CrossFit is, you know what I mean? And we make sure everybody can have a good time, you know? And so I'm still on the fence about it, right? And I'm like...
And dude, that's a lie that people tell themselves. And obviously I'm not involved in the CrossFit side of the house, but I see a lot of parallels. I have people tell me often, man, you know what? I really enjoyed tonight. I want to start jiu-jitsu, but I need to get in better shape first. What? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're putting roadblocks in front of yourself from improving because you tell yourself these stories. And it sounds like you're doing the same thing. Like, man, I just don't know if this is for me, you know? Like, the excuses start coming out.
Yep. Well, and the reality of it is that, you know, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
And I tell myself that all the time. No matter what it is I want it in life, you know what I mean? Like, if I don't make some sort of a slight change, I'm not going to get a change that I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no way. It just doesn't work that way. So I'm hemming and hawing this and that, you know, and then I got my work buddy with me, and he's like, just sign up. He's like, it ain't about that.
So
money.
He was already a member.
Yeah, he was already a member. Yep, he was already a member.
And that's, dude, the fucking, the power in peer pressure. Because peer pressure always has a negative connotation to it, right? But bro, sometimes we need our peers to be like, hey, check it out. Or give you that nudge, you know? Because think, if he hadn't done that, who knows where the fuck you'd be? You might be fucking dead. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I very well could be, you know what I mean? Because we had done, you know, my wife and I had done maybe 2 or 3 things prior to that. Like, we had joined the YMCA, you know, and I'm in there doing like aerobics classes, right, with all these women and stuff like that, just to kind of do something, right, and to do something with her, because she's like, hey, I'm trying to get my life on track, you know, and I'm like, well, this ain't for me, you know, like, I got to go to work. I got to get back down to Tacoma in the morning. I can't be doing this, you know, at 5 o'clock at night. So it's just another excuse, you know? So he talks me into it. He's like, you know, just sign up. He's like, don't tell me it's about the money. He's like, I know you make good money, you know, don't balk her at anything like that.
Bro, I can't stand it when people talk about, cause our gym's $135 a month. And it's like, what is your fitness and your well-being and your mental health worth?
Yeah.
If you can't prioritize $135 a month to become a better version of yourself, man, you're missing out.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's the same thing for us too. We're 150 for unlimited. Yeah. You can come 6 days a week, you know? And I tell people, I'm like, break that down per day.
Exactly.
Like, you should be doing something every day anyways.
Yep.
Maybe not every day you're going hard, but every day you have access to this facility to do something. So when you break it down like that, you know what I mean? We're talking $5 a class, you know? It's literally that cheap. So that's another excuse that you guys don't have.
So man, so did, he gave you the pitch, your buddy said, give it. And, how did you like commit to a certain amount of time, or were you just kind of playing it by ear?
I had to commit back then because a lot of certain gyms back then it was all big into contracts, you know, because CrossFit, you know, you don't really make a lot of money, you know what I mean? So a lot of these gyms were putting 3-month contracts on and stuff like that. So or giving you, you know, you pay in advance, you get a little discount type thing. So I signed up for 3 months and I was kind of off to the races. And when I mean that, I mean I was just a slug moving in a gym with other people that were just hammering me, just kicking my ass every single day. I was the worst guy in the gym. And it was really kind of demoralizing, you know.
I was going to ask, what was that like for your mental health?
It wasn't good at all, even though everybody was like, man, just keep going, you know what I mean? And like, and you know.
Yeah, because coming in last feels like shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of times gyms will be like, you know, hey, you're not competing against them, you're competing against yourself. And it's like, yes, that's technically true, but come in last consistently and tell me how it feels.
Yeah.
You know?
And humans, I mean, we're naturally kind of competitive and nobody wants to
100%.
come in last. Nobody wants to be the
dude,
guy that isn't picked.
Being
you know?
competitive is healthy. It's a good trait, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously you can take it too far, but I mean, that's what makes you successful. That's why you are who you are, because coming in last, it fucking bothered you a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so things are going okay, you know what I mean? And it's, and I'm just on this journey, and CrossFit or healthy living, you know, this is not some 90-day beach body plan.
Fuck no.
This is a lifestyle. It's a change that, you don't get fast results in. And you know, it's
because it's real.
It is,
you know? Anything that is real comes with a lot of effort and a lot of pain and a lot of time, you know?
Yeah. And
so
I mean,
the 90 days, I'm sure, came and went before you knew it, right?
Yeah, it came and went before I knew it, and I signed up for another 6 months, and at this point I was okay. I was hooked. I was kind of doing it. I was still the worst person in class. But not so much anymore, because guess what? There's another new guy that signed up. You know what I mean? And so,
bro, I say that I always draw up. It's funny because Jiu Jitsu and CrossFit communities, there's not a lot of intermixing, but there's a lot of parallels.
There's a ton, yeah.
And I say it to guys all the time. I'm like, you know, you might be here for 3 months and still feel like you suck, but that's because you're fighting guys that got here before you. And as you progress over the next 3 months, they're also progressing.
Yeah.
It's not until that new guy walks off the street that knows nothing and you can strangle him and it feels like a child that you really have an understanding of how far you've come. And it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. And, you know, it's one of the my favorite things to do when somebody new comes into the door, especially when you know that they're nervous, you know. I put everybody in a circle, you know, and we go around and we'll kind of, you know, do some warming up, but I'll say, you know, okay, everybody, you know, what's your name? Anything nagging you today? And how long you been doing this for? And you start getting those answers, you know, I'm this and my knee bugs me today and I've been doing this for 6 years, and somebody else says 3 weeks and somebody says 1 day, and now all of a sudden we're all just intermixing together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter, you know, how long anybody has been doing it. The point is that we're all doing it.
Yes.
You know,
bro, like another parallel, I say it all the time. I said, like, the mats don't lie. So everybody, the pecking order is established. And I don't say the pecking order is established with any negative connotation. You just understand where everybody's at. Mm-hmm. This guy's really good. This guy got good really quickly. This guy took a long time to improve. This guy's brand new and still sucks. But once it's just all out in the open, now everybody can just,
yeah,
okay,
breathe.
I really like that you said that. Like, man, let's circle everybody up and kind of put everything on the table. And now we don't have to pretend any bullshit. This is who we are. This is what we're doing.
Yeah. And so I just kind of kept rolling with it. And then my work buddy had a kind of a change going on in his life, and he stopped going to CrossFit. Him and the owner were kind of butting heads anyways. And he was like, wanting to train with his kid's football player and stuff like that. And so he's got this home gym and all that. And so now it's just me. And I hadn't really met anybody. It's funny because I talk a lot now. Back
then you were quiet, huh?
Super quiet, super introvert. And I didn't want to make friends, you know what I mean? And I was still at this point in my life either where I didn't didn't need new friends, you know, like I just needed myself and my comfort people and my close circle. And that's all I needed.
So you're there, you're grinding, you're seeing physical improvements, you're feeling better, but the community aspect of it wasn't coming together for you yet.
No. And people, you know, and I just looked at myself as a different person than they were. And I didn't care who they were. And it's cool, whatever, you're doing your thing, but I didn't care. And I didn't want to be your friend. I didn't need any friends. And I was also still battling a lot of this anxiety stuff. Because now I've got actual real aches and pains, you know, from moving more and doing more. And so I can't push myself so hard because, man, maybe my heart is something, you know, going on with it. You know what I mean? So I still got those battles, you know.
Were you seeing, because I mean, we're still at the 90 days or whatever, 6 months in.
Yeah.
You were feeling a little better. Were you seeing the weight come off yet?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, not really.
As we'll get into, but that's more what you're putting in your fucking mouth than the hours you're putting in the gym.
100%. Yeah. And people don't want to hear that, but
bro, you can't outwork a bad diet, period.
Nope. And you know, it as hard as you're sweating in that gym and grinding like that and feeling like you're kicking ass, it's 30%.
For sure. And I don't fuck, I almost feel bad saying this because there's a gentleman that lives locally to me that I see when I'm doing my morning cardio every morning. And I've been seeing him out there for years. So I know he's putting in the work. Mm-hmm. And he's still like super, super overweight. And there's a part of me that wants to be like, bro, can I fucking talk to you for a minute?
Yeah.
You know, because he obviously has the drive. He's putting in the work, but clearly he's not getting the results. And it's like, I know what the issue is.
Right.
Like, but I mean, how do you fucking approach that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's, I go through those same things because, you know, you do see somebody like that. And I feel like I have the ability to help somebody.
So you have to tread lightly because you never know how people are going to take that.
Exactly. You know? Yeah. So we'll fast forward a little bit. I guess before I do, I want to add into the part where after my buddy left, there'd be times where I was just feeling bad mentally, and I would show up at that gym and I would just sit in my car, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get out. I can't get out. I can't go in and do this, you know. And that owner would come out and see me in the car and say,
"Get your ass in here!
Come on, man." He's like, you know, all you got to do is walk through that door. I'll take care of it from there.
Fuck yeah. So I mean, he was. Even though you put 6 months of work in or whatever, it was you guys going through this together. Like he was typically always there when you were there?
Yep, he was always there when I was there. Because oftentimes like we would basically get off of work and we would carpool. And so I would drop him off or he would drop me off and then we would head straight to the gym.
Got it.
You know, and it was this routine thing. So it was easier, you know.
And bro, we're creatures of habit. You break that habit and it can do fucked up things to your mental state. Yep,
I had somebody holding my hand, you know, in a sense, but then when that hand went away, it got pretty tough, and then I all of a sudden had to say, you know, well, what am I going to do? I've already been doing this 6 months. I'm not just going to quit, you know. And so I just kind of kept grinding it out. And eventually, I did start to see some weight loss, and I did start to feel good. But I still wasn't eating right. You know, the whole nutrition part of it wasn't even really talked about in that gym.
That's interesting because I always thought that was almost integrated into CrossFit. You know,
in some gyms
like
it is.
One of wasn't it Greg Glassman, like his 100-word quote or whatever it was, you know? And it's like, and I say the same thing with Jiu Jitsu. Jiu Jitsu is going to correct your hydration. It's going to correct your nutrition. It's going to correct your mobility issues if you keep showing up. Because if you show up dehydrated, if you show up eating a shitty fucking meal and bad nutrients in your body, the mats will fucking tell you that you fucked up and you're going to feel shitty. And by default, the activities that we're putting ourselves through demand that you start to take care of the other aspects of your life off the mats. And I would assume it's very similar in CrossFit.
Yeah, and it is. And this particular gym just didn't have any. I mean, I guess they would talk about the paleo diet.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that, kind of very, very broad, generic things. But, you're talking to a guy that eats Wonder Bread. You know what I mean? Like I don't,
Yeah.
what is paleo? I have no idea, you know? So it just didn't resonate with me. So that gym ended up moving. It moved up to Highway 9 and then had some ownership stuff. And at this point I'm a few years in and I've made some improvements. I've lost some weight. There ended up being a couple nutrition classes that they put on where they would bring in a speaker, you know, and so we're starting to kind of put things together a little bit. And then I just started not liking the vibe at the gym. You know, they were pushing more of this like one-on-one. I just didn't care for the way it was going.
Yeah.
It wasn't, it was all cool people, but, I was like, man, there's this other gym down the road, that is doing cooler things. And I happen to know somebody that was down there. So I'm like, well, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go check that place out. And that was a whole different experience because so I went down there and there was some actual athletes down there and a lot younger people and the vibe was completely different. So at this point I'm kind of putting in some extra work now and I'm actually starting to see some progress. And I'm starting to lose some weight and I'm still not so much worried about what I'm eating. But a little bit. And then once you start to kind of get some strength and you start losing some weight and all that, well, now I'm starting to feel like pretty good about myself, almost cocky, like, oh man, look at me, you know, because for me, this was the first time I've ever done anything like that, you know?
Yeah.
I was able to do most of their workouts the way that they were prescribed and not have to modify anything. And it was cool. And the vibe
Yeah, I
was
was
good.
gonna say, like, man, like, I mean, that's a fine line between confidence and cockiness, right?
Yeah.
But you should feel good about that.
You should.
You know, that should feel fucking like you're feeling like the fucking man. That you should be allowed to feel like that. You put in the work and you fucking earn that, you know?
Yep. So the whole time I'm on my journey, right? My wife has been at home, dealing with our son who was sick. It wasn't anything bad. It was just constant ear infections. It wouldn't sleep well.
Yeah.
She's getting worse. She's getting heavier. And to be honest, I wasn't caring. I wasn't even noticing it. It wasn't even, I just didn't see what was happening right in front of me, you know?
Yeah.
And so meanwhile, I'm telling, so now, cause I've lost a little bit of weight and I'm feeling good about myself, right? I'm like, hey, come down and join this with me. Come do this with me. And she's like, I've got no energy, man. She's like, I've got this brand new baby. You know, he's constantly keeping me up all night. I'm not sleeping. I can barely get by myself. And I was just like deaf to that. Like it didn't matter to me because all of a sudden now, like I'm not having so many anxiety attacks and things are starting to get a little bit better for me.
Well, bro, I don't think you can look at, like, reflect on that and necessarily feel bad about it because, man, you needed to get yourself good first.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear it all the time. You're not good for other people until you're good for yourself, or you're good with yourself rather. And you are on the journey of getting good for yourself. So maybe like on a subconscious level, it's like, man, I have to do this because the old version of you weren't going to be good for getting her on the path to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. And that's yeah.
So it probably played out the way that it had to.
It 100% did. I wish that, you know, everything that happened didn't happen the way that it did.
Yeah. But hindsight's fucking 2020, bro. You know?
It is. So yeah, so you know, I mean, I'm trying to get her to join the gym. And I'm taking every time she says no as a negative thing, you know. And it's starting to like kind of piss me off, you know what I mean? It's like,
for sure.
And it's like, well, I'm out here trying to change my life, you
but
know.
You're not willing to change yours.
You're not willing to change yours.
Bro, and me and Jenny walk that fucking same path because it's like when you find something that works for you, then it's a natural expectation that you should go do this so it works for you, you know? And it that can become a very toxic cycle. And, you know, I'm an open book on the fucking podcast. Everybody knows that. But like, it got so bad for us that we're on the verge of divorce because it's like our lives are no longer congruent. I'm trying to do all these things and I just don't see you putting in the same energy of trying to be on this path. And, I mean, luckily she ended up finding her own path, but it was at the gym, but she needed the right people. And to tell you the truth, it was Angie was the right person to connect with her and then bring her on this fitness journey. And to this day, you see them every night down there together.
Yeah.
And it just made me, it taught me that, man, I'm not always going to be the answer for her. Sometimes it might be someone else, you know?
Yep.
And luckily that she found that person and made that happen. So it's fucking crazy. But I know what you're saying when it's like, I can't understand why you're not willing to do what I'm doing because it's working for me. But you have to remember, she's not fucking you. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, so finally she did notice, that there was a change in me and that I was, I was an asshole, I had gotten to the point where I was like, well, this is what I'm doing, and if you don't come with me, like, I don't know where this is going to go type thing,
Yeah. Ultimatums are always very good for relationships.
Yeah. They're the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So she ended up joining that gym, and they put on a little boot camp thing, and so that was kind of her thing, she had already done that in the past.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do this boot camp thing with her. And at this point I was a little bit, above and beyond your general boot camp type thing. So it's like, I'm just doing it, just to help her out type thing, is this whole thing. And she liked it and all that. And then that was kind of it, she was like still dealing with all this stuff. Right. But I didn't care. I was back doing my own thing, and what I ended up finding was, I thought I was around the right people again, because now I'm around some savages, some people that like to lift weights and, but they still like to go out and party and drink and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of them are going through divorces because their spouses, aren't cool with what they got going on. And it's like, well, hey, mine's not either. You know what I mean? So we're now connecting.
You're bonding on that. Yeah.
We're bonding on this shitty thing, and here's the thing that sucks, about getting in shape and stuff like that and bonding with those people is, like, people start to notice you a little bit, and be attracted to you, and so all of a sudden, like, there's other women, they're going through this exact same thing that I am, and their husbands, they can't get their husbands to go to the gym. And I'm like,
for sure.
I can't get my wife to go to the gym, you know what I mean?
And then now you're treading in dangerous fucking territory.
Dangerous territory, you know what I mean? And just attracting the negative attention, and so
the thing is, it's not negative attention. It's actually like positive attention. And that's why you'd be so attracted to that. You know what I'm saying?
That's, yeah.
That's just reality, because I don't care how much of a rock you are and how committed you are to your person. When you're in a real bad way and someone else presents something that makes you feel like, oh, they get it, it's like a fucking drug, dude.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get pulled into that, fuck, dude. That's why the majority of marriages don't last, because at some point in somebody's life, they're subjected to that and they're like, okay, I'm out,
Yeah. Well, and so in all reality, she was starting to kind of pick up on a lot of those vibes, you know what I mean? And this new group of people and stuff like that. And, so she was like, well, I'll join the gym again,
Yeah.
Well, at this point I was like, well, no, I don't want you joining the gym. Like, this is my place now. This is my happy place where I can go and I can bitch about you and work out and grind hard with my friends and be with people that get me, right? Because you don't get me,
man. It's like you're becoming a savage, but there's some darkness attached to it still.
Yeah, big time. You know what I mean? And I think I think a lot of it just comes from the fact that that I had never experienced, anything like this, and I also, kind of going back to that blue collar lifestyle, and living just above the poverty line, like divorce and marital issues and all this stuff.
That's
like
just a normal part of life.
Just happened, I'm the product of 2 divorces, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they get along just fine, so maybe I got it wrong, you know what I mean? Like maybe my first one needs to go in the garbage and I'll do it again, just like every other person that I've ever met,
Yeah.
and every other person that I've ever been around, because again, that's prerequisite, you got to have the DUI
Yep.
and the divorce, and so that's kind of where it was. And she was like, no, I'm going to join, she's like, I'm coming, you know what I mean? And so she joined that gym, and it was like I was cold to her.
I was going to say, did that cause some resentment?
It did, yeah. Because it was like, man, now you're coming into my happy hour, and you're trying to get involved with my people, and you don't understand my people, you know what I mean? Because look where I'm at right now. I've lost some weight. I'm strong, you know what I mean? And
fuck, man.
And she's smart, you know what I mean? She's picking up on
keying in on it. Bro, they always fucking do.
Yeah, she knows. So, she was like, well, this place is toxic, man. And I see what's happening here. And I'm not going to be around it, and you shouldn't be around it. And you need to leave, And at this point in my journey, I was like, 2017, 2018 or something like that. It was literally the best shape that I've ever been in. And I thought I hit the top, and I didn't even touch the surface, what I mean? And so I'm like, well, I ain't going nowhere. I'm like, this is the best I've ever been. And switching these gyms, like this is, I'm doing things, man. Like, what, you know what I mean? You don't get it.
Well, you're also correct though. You know what I mean? If like, not necessarily on the emotional front, but the fact that for the first time in your life, you were becoming a good athlete, changing that formula, that has to be fucking scary.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So I could see why that mentality would be like, fuck no, I'm not leaving here.
Yeah. So she left, and she went and did her own thing for a little bit, and she kind of popped around to a couple different gyms, and life just started to get more and more toxic for us. She'd say, let's go do this. I can't, I'm doing this competition this day at my gym, you know what I mean? Or they're doing this. And so I'm constantly chose that gym, over not just her, my family, my son, you know what I mean? I was, I 100% get the part where you have to focus on yourself to be good for anybody else,
but not neglect them.
But not, I mean, don't be a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially to somebody who is literally been by your side this entire time through your worst times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and now that you're fucking becoming somebody that you're proud of.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out, or fuck you,
Exactly.
Yeah,
you know what
dark.
I mean? And so when I look back on that, man, I'm just like, how could I have ever been that way to the person that literally was a crucial part of saving my life? She was my rock, like the only person that could get me out of these anxiety, these crazy panic attacks that I would have.
But bro, you were in a new storm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I talk about on the show a lot when it comes to like some depression that I faced, or even fucking like suicidal ideations at times. And it's like when you're in the storm, sometimes you can't see out of it.
Yeah.
And then once you get out of the storm and you can look back in clearly, it's like, how the fuck was I like that? Or why the fuck was I like that? But all the coulda, shoulda, wouldas or whys, it's like, man, when you're in that moment, you can have fucking blinders on. And it's shocking looking back that you couldn't see big picture, but bro, I get it, man. Cause I've been there,
Yeah. And I mean, and so she left, and she went and, like I said, popped around to a couple gyms, dropped in and stuff like that. And she went into CrossFit Lake Stevens, and,
was Shane running it at that time?
Casey was.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was 2019. Yeah. 2019. She went in there. And she immediately loved the vibe. And if you know anything about CrossFit Lake Stevens, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that, you know. And if you live local and you're looking for a gym, you need to come find out what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so she was doing that gym and I was doing my gym, and we're literally on the opposite sides of town. It's just not working. You know what I mean? She's going this way. I'm going this way. But I don't care, you know, I don't care what she's doing. I only care about what I got going on. And, so she told me, you know, to come down and, you know, what was it? There was a Thanksgiving workout, you know, bring a friend day type thing. Come on down and try it out, you know, at least, or something like that. And I thought to myself, all right, well, I'm going to go down there. You know what I mean? I'll go down there and show these guys.
Show them what's up, dude.
Show them what's up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm kind of I'm the new kid on the block now. You know what I mean? I'm a big, strong guy, right? I wasn't even that. Holy shit. I wasn't even that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just thought that I was, you know? So I go down there and I just kind of did the thing. You know what I mean? I'm like, whatever, you know, this and that. Never came back. Well, then by this point, she's like, hey, this is the place for me. That is not the place for you. This is it. Like, you're an asshole. I can't do it anymore. I've tried to be as supportive as I can to you. The way that you're living and acting and the negative attention that you're getting down there, you know, from different women and, you know, stuff like that. Like, I'm not cool with it. You shouldn't be cool with it. I'm not cool with it. And this just isn't how it's going to be. And I'm starting to fucking hate you for it. And I was like, wow, well, you know, I mean, so that kind of hit me a little bit different this time, you know, and, and I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to go give it a shot. You know what I mean? And
so when she kind of threw it all down like that, there was a part of you obviously that understood.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because I knew. Yeah, like I knew she wasn't messing around, you know. And I had put her through enough hell and nights and crying and you know, all the things that you don't want to talk about, you know, you know, the issues that you have with your wife, you know what I mean? That
we've all been there, bro.
Yeah. You know, and quite frankly, honestly, the things that I was nervous to come here and say today.
Yeah.
But saying that is also a part of my journey, and I'm just going to be that much stronger, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the mindset that I have right now, you know? So yeah, I mean, it was like done, you know, and there's not a lot of people that know about it at all. I mean, only a couple.
Bro, it's very easy, because I've heard this about my marriage a lot. It's very easy for people on the outside looking in to be like, man, they got it fucking made.
Yeah.
And we've fucking been on the verge of divorce plenty of times ourselves. And it wasn't until, to tell you the truth, probably the last 3 or 4 years where we've figured out how to grow together as opposed to growing apart. And dude, it's a hard fucking thing to figure out, because, you know, I got together with my wife when she was 23. I mean, we're fucking kids. And it's to grow into your older years on the same trajectory as someone. Bro. I look at marriage sometimes and think it's almost an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah, 100%.
Because people change over time.
Yeah.
You know, and we have different aspirations and different goals and different life missions. And so, but I always say, like, till death do you part. That's kind of a dark thing, because sometimes you do grow apart and you're better off moving on, right? But then the other side of the coin is, if you fight for someone that you believe in, on the other side of that, it can be fucking awesome again. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
You know?
100%, because I mean, I'm living in not just what feels the best day of my life, you know, and the best times of my life. It is like, it's 100%. You know, I am on the right path. This isn't some placebo, you know, moment in time. I mean, we are connected like better than we were day one.
Yep, I say the same thing. But bro, it's literally like anything else. It's like your nutrition. It's like your Jiu Jitsu. It's like your fucking strength. To improve it comes with massive amount of work and a massive amount of pain. And I don't think, because me and Jenny, we talk about this often now, and I don't talk about this on the podcast very often either. So you're bringing out some shit in me.
All right.
But we look back at some of the hard, super dark times that we went through, and we look back on them now almost, I'm not going to say with joy, but with an understanding that we needed to walk through that fire, because it forged our relationship in that fire, and it brought us to who we are today. And we wouldn't be here without that journey. Right. You know?
And we're fortunate enough to be able to view it that way, because it's the exact same thing.
Fuck yeah.
You know, and you know, we went to marriage counseling too on top of that. And we've been to counseling actually a couple times in this whole journey, and I feel like it's a very healthful thing to do.
This is what I say about counselors, man, because I used to be like, why the fuck would I pay somebody to give me advice? Because they're earning a living on me being fucked up, right? That just seems counterproductive. But when you step outside of that mindset and you just think, is it possible that another human being out there that has a detached view of your life, meaning they're not invested in you emotionally, they're invested in problem solving. Is it out of the realm of possibility that that person could provide some type of advice that could be beneficial? Fucking of course not, right?
Right.
And once you understand that, it's like, okay, I guess then I should be open to this experience. Because like, you want to lean on your friends, right? But your friends are always going to inevitably have a view that's skewed towards you. And your girl's friends are inevitably going to have a view that's skewed towards her, right? I think that objective look can be something that benefits both you guys.
Yeah. And that's what it took, you know, is we had to find somebody that was kind of truly, we both felt in the middle biased, you know. He wasn't on his side, wasn't on her side, wasn't on my side, right?
Yeah. Like, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
You should get a divorce.
And this guy, I mean, this guy is awesome. And, you know, you look like Mr. Rogers, 100% different path than what any of us are on. And all the things he was telling me, I didn't want to hear. And it was because he was right.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't that weird how you, like, when you hear something that can be correct, you're still averse to it because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And sometimes when things don't feel good, it's the lizard brain that's like, fuck you.
Right.
You know? But that's, bro, humans are fucking nuts, dude. Because that's the truth. It's like, the hardest shit to hear is what you do need to hear. How many times do we have to go through this fucking cycle to realize that?
Yeah. I wish it wasn't so many. You know?
Bro, and now I look at my life now at 41, and I often think it's like, dude, what's the next crazy phase?
Yeah.
Because we don't have it figured out, right? Things are good. And it sounds like we're on a very similar journey where things are good right now, things are working, but I think it's dangerous to say to yourself, I got it.
Right. Yeah. No, don't,
you know what I'm
settle
saying?
In. Don't settle in. You know, we we didn't come this far just to come this far, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not where it stops. But yeah, man. I mean, so I ended up coming over, joining up CrossFit Lake Stevens, and basically.
You said it's 2019.
So that was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I came over. Casey was still owning the gym, and I came over as because.
What did you weigh when you got to CrossFit Lake Stevens?
I was probably 220. So I had lost about,
so you were still
45 pounds, right? Yeah. Cause I was started out at 65. Yeah. So I was still, I've got some pictures actually from, I was taking
I don't remember you ever being anyone other than who you are right now.
Yeah.
You know, our buddy, Toby Folk, who's been on the podcast a handful of times, works with you. He's an electrician as well. And I mean, he told me after it came out that like you used to be super fat. He's like, bro, Potts could barely fucking button his overalls up in the morning. Buttons were, he goes, I'd want to have my safety goggles on just because I was afraid those things were going to burst and fly across the room. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't ever remember that version of you.
Yeah, well, and it's because, like I said, I was still an introvert at this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I came over and mentally thinking, yeah, I'm hot shit, you know, because I might have been, you know, maybe the top 5 guys, let's say. You know, I was within the top 5 guys at this other gym, you know, and so I came over thinking I was just hot shit, you know, and man, I was humbled.
Bro, every time, it's the same thing in jiu-jitsu. Every time you start to think you're good, someone will show you that you still fucking suck.
Yep.
And that is true right now for both of us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And you learn that lesson enough and you experience that over and over and over. It actually feels good because it's like, okay, it lets you know that there isn't a destination and that it's just the fucking journey.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so I'm just kind of chipping away, man. And I was humbled because it was probably 3 months before I was able to consistently do the workouts the way they were prescribed without having to modify. And that was big for me because I just come from this place where I RX'd everything.
Yeah.
Well, now, whoa, shit.
Fuck, I'm back to modifying. Only women and fat people modify.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was exactly that type of guy. You know?
Yeah.
But she was happy, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. You know, I don't know if it's going to work out or not. I don't know if I like all these people. Look at them all. They're all too happy, you know, with their families.
They're
and
good vibes.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. I don't know if this is the right place for me.
There's guys in pajamas upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. So I just kind of rolled with it, man. And then as things started to kind of progress with her and I started to connect with her a little bit more. And then I started to kind of open up a little bit more, and I would talk to people because now she, you know, she had, I don't know how many months it was on me, but she had friends there. So by default, as we're leaving, you know, she's like introducing me to people, knowing that I hate talking to people, you know. Oh, hey, this is my husband. Yeah, he just joined up. Oh, hey, man, what's going on? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally better than you. You know, just this kind of arrogant thing, and it's funny to look back on.
Because it's all a story you were just telling yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, for all I know, some, you know, I don't know what those people thought of me back then either, you know, and so it'll be interesting to see if somebody says, yeah, man, you know,
you were a fucking prick when I met you.
Exactly. Total asshole. It's funny because, yeah, Josh, we get along. I mean, we're good friends and stuff like that, but I didn't like his vibe at all. I'm like, who is this guy? You know? And now it's like, man, that's a cool dude. You know what I mean? And he's doing cool things.
Yep.
And, but yeah, so that's when things, man, really started to change. And the nutrition part really started to sink in. And you know, I don't.
Was there someone or something that sparked the flame of, all right, I kind of got my routine with working out dialed in. Now let's jump into the nutrition side of the house.
Yep. It was the awesome Christy Campbell.
There you go.
Yeah. She, so my wife started working with her.
Okay.
And it was kind of just, in the beginning, she was just kind of a part of her group and stuff like that, and kind of getting all these little tips and tricks. And Christy's got such an amazing program, you know, and what she does. And when it comes to people that are smart and they know their shit, she's who I say is smart and knows their shit, you know? And so her program, you know, just kind of promoting this healthy lifestyle, you know, and it's nothing crazy, and it's not some 8-week beach body thing. It's we're doing this for life, and we're doing this, not to, here's the thing. When I first joined that gym, and one of the things he asked me very back in the very beginning, he said, what are 2 things you aspire to do, you know, in this gym? And I said, I want to do a muscle up and a handstand push up. And he's like, well, that's cool. And why, you know? And I'm saying, because it looks badass, you know, like it looks cool, right? And I had no idea at the time that what I was asking to do was literally probably the 2 hardest gymnastics movements that we do, right? And the reality of it is that when you come into this with, I want to lose weight, that's what everybody does, right? They step foot in a gym, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
That's generally everybody's goal, right? That only carries you for so far, right? And then it's the whole motivation versus discipline thing. Motivation can only carry you so far. Discipline is just what you do.
Yeah.
It's just this is what I'm doing, right? And that's when things kind of really started to take off, is when we said, well, we're not doing this for just to lose weight anymore. Like, it started to be, this is the healthy lifestyle that I want to be. And the coolest thing about that is that when losing weight, and looking cool and being thin and all that, when that's not your main focus, everything else can kind of actually naturally happen. And what you end up finding out is that when you're living for health and you're living for life, being jacked and lean and all that, that's actually just the awesome byproduct of living that way. And that's when the strides really started taking off, because I had to shift my mindset to, I want more for myself now. Like, I'm solid with my wife. We're good. Mentally, I'm great. Like, I'm not having anxiety and stuff like that anymore.
You touched on the anxiety quite a bit leading up to this. At what point in your fitness journey did you notice a massive reduction in anxiety?
I think 2019. I think right when I kind of came to CrossFit Lake Stevens. And I'm not done with it. It's something I still deal with every day, just on a different level.
For sure. No, I mean, and that's our brains, man. Like, the depression side of the house. I've said on the show before, like, I'm pretty sure depression's behind me, and I've figured out a way to overcome it. And then it was like a month ago, I had a day where I was just like, man, fuck my life, dude. Fuck me. Fuck everybody I know. And I'm like, dude, how the fuck am I here? I thought I was done with this. Right. You know what I mean? But the shit inside of our brain will fucking rear its ugly head again. That's just part of who you are, I think, man.
Yeah. And it's, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a relationship with it, because everybody needs a little bit of fear in their life. You can't just say, I'm going to go hard, I'm going to live in the moment and all this. You can't really do that. You have to have a little bit of your instincts there. And when fear creeps in, you can have a conversation with fear and go, okay, is this something I really need to be worried about? Or is this just you giving me, a little bit of a heads up? And once you kind of check in with that a little bit, okay, let's go. There's no threat. Let's go hard, No,
I like that.
And that's what I'm doing,
Well, and also the human experience is not one of pleasure and happiness all the time.
No, it shouldn't be.
It's, you have to have hot to have cold.
Yep.
Like, that's the reality. You have to have peaks to have valleys. And so when things are all good, you just have to know this is not sustainable. Because there's two sides to the coin of life. But for me, once you understand that that's the reality we live in, it makes you have, like, once you have that understanding, it's a little more manageable, because it's like, okay, here's a shit fucking day. I'm mad about this, or that person said this. But now it's like, okay, I'm good. This is just a moment, or this is just an experience, or this is just a feeling. But on the other side of it is the good times again too. And I think I've been through the cycle enough times now that I understand I can manage it better, knowing that it's a moment in time. It's a moment of my life. It's not my life, Right.
Yeah. And it's just, we get too accustomed to being comfortable. Everybody wants comfort in their life, and
comfort kills.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I wanted to make a new podcast shirt. Comfort kills.
Yeah, it does.
As it does.
Yeah.
You seek comfort, it will come back to fucking bite you in the ass. It will. You have to seek discomfort.
Yeah.
And you can seek discomfort in a million different ways, but you have to be seeking it in some capacity.
Yeah, anything. And it's not big things. Nobody's telling you to go skydiving or anything like that.
But bro, I'll tell you, man, like, not to go off on too much of a tangent, because we don't have a tremendous amount of time left, but I've lived in enough shitty third world countries where people don't have to seek discomfort. Fucking life is discomfort.
Right.
And a lot of times they're the happiest fucking people you'll ever see, bro. So what does that tell you?
Exactly.
You know, the people in the Hindu Kush, the mountains of Afghanistan, they're not on Prozac, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like the Western culture, we've created a life that's so nice that we don't have that discomfort. And now we're out of alignment, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So my wife was working with Jamie or with Christy, and she was starting to see some really good results, and not just her group, but she started working with her one-on-one. And so now all of a sudden, where it was me trying to change my wife is now changing me with nutrition. She's all of a sudden starting to eat right and all that, so which means I'm eating right. And things started kind of, all of a sudden the weight started falling off, you know, and I wasn't at that point, I wasn't tracking anything I was eating or anything like that. I was just eating healthy food, unprocessed, just good stuff.
Nutrient dense food.
Exactly. Real food.
Like, I love that, dude.
And that's all you need, right? Like if anybody wants to know the secret, that's it. Just real food.
Bro, I tell people all the time, because when they see how lean I got on 75 hard, it's like, dude, what was your macro split? How many grams of this were you eating? How many grams of that? And it's like, I didn't do any of that. Right. I just ate 100%. I restricted it to meat and fucking fruit. That's it, right? If you eat nutrient dense foods, your body will be fucking happy with it.
Yeah.
Now, can you you can overeat anything, right? But show me, like, this isn't my quote. I wish it was, but show me the person that got fat on apples.
Right.
Show me that person.
Yeah.
A fucking person doesn't exist, man.
No, they don't. And it's the same way where, you know, people will, people were giving you shit the other day for cracking those eggs, right?
Bro,
and eating that stuff.
It's the internet. Don't you know if you eat an egg raw, it's not as bioavailable? It's like, I don't give a shit. That's the truth. Like, hey, listen, is there truth to that science? Probably.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, like, I know that I'm eating healthy, nutrient dense foods. And this is something that people need to understand and realize. And I bet you're right here too, is once you restrict yourself and eat only fucking clean foods, you don't crave the bullshit anymore. Like, I don't want to go to Jack in the Box. The thought of going to Jack in the Box makes me want to fucking throw up in that Nalgene bottle.
Yeah.
You get away from the poison, and then you get into the healthy, nutrient dense food. Your body realizes that, and it's like, oh, okay. So when I want food, I crave meat and fruit. Your body starts to understand, like, this is what serves me, you know?
Yeah. And your palate starts to change too.
For sure.
To where when you do go back and you have those, you know what I mean? Like, I have whatever you want to call it, cheat days or just living life days, right? Like, I'll eat a slice of pizza or whatever, and I'll have some ice cream. I feel different now. Like, my body is accustomed to just eating normal, real food.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden what used to be this reward, right? And that's the other thing. Like, we're rewarding ourselves. Like, no, we're just
by poisoning ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's total bullshit. You know?
Well, dude, I love that you brought up pizza, because I've said on the podcast a lot, I'm so gluttonous when it comes to pizza. I'll eat a large Papa John's pepperoni pizza in one sitting. And I got off 75 hard. I didn't have any cheat meals because I was afraid. I was like, fuck, dude, if I go back, it's going to be hard to really dial this discipline back in again. And it wasn't until a couple nights ago, my daughters wanted pizza, and there was one there. And I was like, you know what? I'm going back on 75 hard on October 11th. That's right around the corner. I'm going to have a piece of pizza. And I did. And I didn't want more. I was like, eh. And that was like a win for me, you know, because normally it's like fucking crack to me.
Yeah.
And like, again, you feed your body the right stuff, your body becomes accustomed to it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. And that's basically, I mean,
what year was it when you guys really jumped into healthy eating?
Here's where we're going to probably start ranting together. It was 2020.
Yeah.
So it was
Bro, fucking lot of silver linings from 2020.
Yeah, ton of them.
People want to fucking cry and bitch, and there's a lot to cry and bitch about. But if you allow the crying and bitching to define you and you're not looking at the silver linings, you're missing the fuck out, dude.
Yeah.
Like my gym grew by 600% in 2020.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to fucking cry about.
Yeah. My marriage became the best that it ever was. I seen every business that I cared about flourish around me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got down to 10% body fat during the pandemic.
Fuck yeah,
you
dude.
know, not even trying, just
living life the right way.
Yeah. Just wanted to do it, and,
well, bro, and thank God, because me and Shane is who ran the gym, during 2020. We talked and we both said, hey, we shut down for 2 weeks or whatever it is, but we got a fucking army of people that need fitness, and we're both opening up.
Yeah.
And if you don't fucking like it, come and do something about it. And that, you talk about your vibe attracts your tribe. That vibe of, hey, we're fucking doing this. Man, so many people were like, yes, I need this. Because CrossFit fucking blew up during 2022 or 2020 also. You know what I'm saying? And, dude, that, like, you can't deprive people of things that they need. And if you try to, we'll figure out a way around it. And, man, just that act of defiance and saying, you know what, we're staying open, another silver lining, man.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So then it was 2020 when you started coaching too then.
Yeah. So, at that point, I was pretty deep into, not just my own personal journey, but I was kind of helping people, I was feeling good about myself.
Bro, it's unofficial leadership roles in the gym. And it's the same thing upstairs. Once you have a good grasp of how things work and how to, like, the movements or the techniques, it starts to become your duty to kind of help people out along the way.
Yeah.
That's the first stage of coaching,
Well, and truth be told, I mean, my whole life, I feel like I've had this urge to want to do something better, something, bigger than myself. I never knew what that was.
Yeah.
I thought it was like search and rescue actually at one point. I thought it was law enforcement at one point. Actually,
whoa. No,
yeah, exactly.
So you wanted to make a fraction of the money that you make, huh?
Well, what I wanted to do was actually I wanted to go on the Snohomish County Sheriff Reserve.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I'm obviously joking. I support all that stuff.
But those things didn't work out. And actually, when I wanted to do those things, and my wife was like real talking with me, I was taking that as like more negative shit that she was giving me.
Yeah.
And the reality of it was she was actually thinking smart. You know what I mean? And but yeah, I've always had this urge to want to kind of do more. I just need to do it, So I found myself kind of definitely diving deeper into it, because now I'm feeling good. Like I said, my marriage is really, really good. We're strong. We're bonded. And I'm seeing this community around the gym, these people that are good, genuine people, and maybe for the first time in my life, I'm seeing what good, genuine people look like.
Yeah.
And man, it's it hits you, man. Like when it hits you hard.
Yeah.
To recognize those things, and so I started, just kind of helping people out a little bit, giving little tips and stuff like that. And then Shane asked me, he said, "Hey, man, I think you'd make a great coach, and your story is pretty crazy." He didn't even know all my story. He just knew that I was fat now that I'm not, what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
but bro, that in itself is powerful for a coach.
Yep.
Because when you get the people walking in off the street that look like you used to look like, I'm telling you, when you fucking say like you should hang that picture up in the fucking gym, dude, because dude, people walk in like that all the time. And when they can say, oh, fuck, this dude knows what it's like to be me, I think that's powerful as fuck, bro.
It is, yeah. And we're getting there, you know what I mean? Like we're getting there as far as more showing and telling that story, like with our nutrition programs that we're kicking off and stuff like that. But yeah, Shane, because he came in later, he kind of seen the better version of me, even socially, at that point, I maybe wasn't so much of an introvert and this and that, but I definitely wasn't going out looking for new friends.
Yeah.
But I wasn't standoffish. I wasn't cold shouldered. I wasn't the way that I was when I first came there. And so I told him, I said, well, man, I think I'd actually like to, but the problem is, like, I don't think I can talk to people. I don't think that I can, tell people what to do and stuff like that. But the reality of it is that I've almost been training for this my whole life, in some way, because I mean, I've been in a management role for one of the biggest, electrical companies in the state for a long time, like in managing time, money, people is what I do. And I'm very leadership oriented.
So you just told yourself a lie that that's what you were good at work. But doing that, taking that leadership role in the gym still had nerves attached to it, huh?
100%. Yeah.
Well, and the other side of that is too, it's a learned skill, like when I got my black belt and now I opened a gym, it's like you have a room full of people looking at you. If I were to watch my lessons from 2015, I would be fucking embarrassed, I'm sure. It wasn't until probably the last couple of years that I'm like, dude, I'm a good coach now. Like, I believe in myself. And just like every other thing in life, it's a skill set that you develop over time,
Yeah, exactly. And then, so, kind of almost just like anything else, positive or negative I've done in my life, I kind of went in head first, like full steam.
Yeah.
And, went, I wanted to do it like right away, like once he talked me into it. So, I went over to Boise, took the course, passed it, came back and said, okay, let's go, and shadowed for a little bit. And I was just telling my wife last night, like, this is my passion now.
Fuck yes,
like,
bro. Yeah.
I enjoy doing this. And I was so nervous that, people were going to see right through me and think that I'm just, some guy that lost weight and is a mental nutcase with this anxiety issue.
Bro, it's imposter syndrome.
It's, yeah.
And everybody has it. I had it for a long time. And it's growing into that role. And it just takes some time,
Yeah.
But I agree with you, man. Like, all the crazy shit that I've done in my life, when I look back, like all these deployments and warfare and ranger school and being a police officer, fucking resuscitating people with heart attacks and saving lives, arresting child molesters. Like, I've done a lot of shit that I look back on and I'm proud of. The thing that gives me the most pride in who I am as a man is mentorship. And it can be mentoring people at the gym, and it can be mentoring people out of the gym. But that gives me more pride in who I am than anything I've ever done in my life, dude.
Yeah.
Like Angie's boys. Like, I don't know if you know much of our story or their story, but like, I took them under my wing as my own boys. And that is literally some of the most rewarding experiences of my entire life. And I get that at the gym as well. Because, man, there are a lot of people there that are looking for help. And it's not just helping, oh, I'm fat, help me get skinny. It's the whole package. And when you can, something that's inside of you that you can provide to them to help them out of that dark place, bro, that's what it's fucking about, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, think about it. Like, when I see your vibe, I see your leadership, I see your command presence when I walk into the gym. It's fucking powerful, man. And now you can sit here and you can know, when I was in that dark place, that place that I had to crawl out of, you're fucking helping people do that right now. What more can you give to your community than that?
Yeah, I don't know. But if there is more, I'm going to do more.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the kind of the mission that I'm on right now. And it's funny because as much as I want to help people and stuff like that, I've drawn this line in the sand, that I don't want to go out and preach this to a bunch of deaf ears. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. It's this weird thing, like, if you show up at the door I'm going to take you in and I'm going to give you everything I got. Because I feel like I don't want to waste an ounce of, what somebody else could benefit from on somebody who isn't ready to hear it. Right. Because you might just not be there yet. And that's cool if you're not. But
you can't save the world, but you can certainly save the ones that want to be saved.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, I love nothing more than seeing new members come in, scared the same way that I was, maybe even still sitting out in their car, and I'm going to go drag you out, you know what I mean? And the same way I was, and I'm going to get you in here, and we're going to circle up, and we're going to introduce ourselves, and we're going to talk about things, and you might get a little uncomfortable, and that's okay, I mean, when you hit me up to do this podcast, to be honest with you, I was like, my first response was like, well, yeah, it's the fucking Endless Endeavor podcast. Yeah, I want to do it,
Yeah.
But then I actually had to think about it, and I was like, well, I don't know if I do want to do this, because I might have to say some things that I'm not comfortable saying. I might, you might see right through me and pull some things out that I don't want to come out and say,
Yeah.
And it wasn't comfortable for me to say yes. But the reality behind it is that's why I said yes, because I was not comfortable,
Yeah.
And those little things, you have to do that. You have to do that for yourself, for your mental sake, and just for your overall preservation of life, really.
Oh, bro, that's why you've become a leader in the community, because the truest strength that a man can have, it's not his fucking bench. It's not how many people he can beat up. It's none of that stuff. It's how vulnerable can he be? Because in moments of vulnerability is when you learn the most about yourself. And so it took me forever to fucking learn that lesson. I always thought it was, how good of a fighter are you? How fit are you? How fast are you? And all that stuff's cool. I'm not taking away from that stuff. But at the end of the day, the truest strength is how vulnerable you can be. And what that does is it improves all of those other aspects of your life dramatically. Bro, vulnerability is what got me through imposter syndrome. Because when you can finally sit back and be like, oh, fuck, dude, these are my flaws. These are my problems. These are the things I'm not good at. Then other people see like, oh, he's like me. Oh, he's a real person. Oh, he's this, he's that. Instead of like, as soon as you try and project something that is inauthentic, bro, the lizard brain sees that from a mile away, dude. And I think your vulnerability is what's really fucking making you rise to the top, man. And this isn't to fluff your ego or fucking stroke your ego. Like, everybody at the gym that I've had any type of interaction with, when your name comes up, that's one of the most solid motherfuckers I know, Yeah. And bro, it's awesome because you've earned that through years of dedication and hard work. You came from the bottom, and now people see where you're at, but you still come at it from a place of humility and kindness and vulnerability. It's fucking rad, dude. That's why this will be a lifelong journey for you,
Yeah. And I don't know what to say. It's
yeah, bro. No, it's you've earned this, and you should be fucking proud, And feeling emotions around that, it's a good thing,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I definitely believe you and all that. I still want to be this average Joe. You know what I mean?
That's what we all want to be. I don't know, man. I think the realest people I know are not impressed with who they are.
Yeah.
Right. Because as soon as you are, well, guess what? That kind of stops that, like we said earlier, that growth mindset. Because if you know who you are tomorrow can be better than who you are today, then that keeps you trapped in that growth mindset, and that's what's healthy. I always say, like, dude, I'm going to look back at my 41-year-old self that's recording these episodes when I'm 70 and just think, man, that dumb kid didn't know a fucking thing, But that's exciting too, because that means I got 30 more years of growth ahead of me,
Yeah, I'm I'm not even at the peak or anywhere close, and I'm excited,
Yeah.
to see where the rest of this takes me,
What would you say? And we don't have a tremendous amount of time left, but I wanted to get your opinion on what would you say to the people that when they hear CrossFit, there's fear attached to that. There's negativity attached to that. There's, those people are just going to get me hurt. Because to a certain extent, these type of activities can come with injuries and they can come with problems. But I hate it when I hear people that say those things as an excuse to never even walk through the door.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's one that I love to talk about because, I know so many people that, have like torn their knees apart and stuff like that from doing the stupidest things, like bending over and working on their washing machine. I mean, that's a real life story. You know what I mean? Like this guy, he was overweight, working on his washing machine, stood up, totally, ripped his MCL, ACL or something like that. Right. I don't see people getting injured, in CrossFit. And I've been to quite a few gyms along this whole process. I mean, I drop in all over the country, when I go to places. It's my thing to do, right? Because I'm on vacation doesn't mean I'm going to go back to being a fat pile, Like I got to work out, right? I got to get it in.
Yeah.
And so you gotta look for it. I mean, well, first of all, if somebody's saying anything negative about it, look at that person in the eyes and where are they living? How are they living? You know what I mean? Because people are quick to throw this negative stuff out there. I could eat 12 eggs right now and somebody could look at me and go, oh man, your cholesterol is going to be through the roof and you're going to die of a heart attack. And while they're tweeting that in Starbucks parking lot, drinking a 18 gram sugar Frappuccino and whatever other garbage shit they got there,
Yep.
So the reality of it is that CrossFit in its whole is built for anybody. And if you can walk, if you could sit down, if you could stand up, you can CrossFit, and this isn't, again, I mean, I love to say it, but this is not some 8-week Beachbody program. This is a lifestyle change, and the reality of it is that you need some sort of movement in your life every day. Doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to go hard every single day of the week. I don't go hard every single day of the week, but I move every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Some days it's just a walk. Some days, I'm top of the leaderboard at the gym, and some days I'm at the bottom of the leaderboard, but I'm doing something every day.
Yeah.
And CrossFit does have this stigma around it. But there's two different sides of CrossFit. There's like the super competitive CrossFit Games people, and those guys are going to the limits just like the NFL players and MLB players are going to the limits, right? So yeah, they're probably going to rip a shoulder off or something like that because they're doing pretty insane stuff 2-3 times a day, and that's their living. But for the rest of us that are doing CrossFit, we're just picking up a barbell. We're trying to get better, we're moving weight. And the nice thing about it is that for the most part, it's kind of hard to hurt yourself because if you're not moving efficiently, you're not able to throw on weight to really do much damage, because like the weight will cue you. It'll tell you like, no, this ain't happening. You can't move that way. So yeah, the biggest thing is just come do it. Come try. Come walk through the door. Experience the vibe,
Well, and that's one thing I say to Jiu Jitsu athletes as well. It's like, not all gyms are created equal. And if you're somewhere where it feels toxic or it feels dangerous or the coach isn't scaling it for you correctly or whatever it may be, maybe it's time to try a new place.
Exactly.
Right? And I mean, that's a double-edged sword because maybe you don't know. Again, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So if they're not scaling it or whatever the case may be, it may be hard to ascertain that. But at the end of the day, if your spidey sensors are going off that there's a problem, man, check out a new gym.
Exactly. Yeah, just go down the road. I mean, there's a ton of them out there. And you might find a bad coach. They exist. Bad people exist even in awesome, cool environments.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
And the bigger, I mean, CrossFit and Jiu Jitsu are both blowing up, and that it's not slowing down.
Right.
So it's just a numbers game. The more gyms that are out there, the more stories you're going to hear about, dude, this coach molested a girl or whatever the fuck it may be, right? But that's just human beings too. There's shitty people in all walks of life. And if you hear about them infiltrating these communities, well, welcome to humanity, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, I mean, and the nice thing about it is, like, at our place, it's going to be hard for that fucker to infiltrate. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
It's to the point now, because we have like...
You'd be pretty dumb, actually, to try and infiltrate.
Yeah. We have 100 and however many members, and you guys do too. Once the teams are that big and the vibe is established, and I don't know if you've noticed this downstairs, but I noticed it upstairs. If people show up and their vibe does not attract the tribe, they see themselves out.
Yeah.
I don't have to ask people to leave. Like, the vibe attracts the good people, and it actually repels the people that are probably better off not being there.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. We've had people come in and then they go out the back door. They go out your door because they don't want to walk past and see us. You know? And so,
and bro, that's why I don't do contracts, and I don't have like cancellation policies or cancellation fees, I should say, because if you want to leave, it's probably better off that way. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
I make it extremely simple to leave the team. Send me an email and you're done.
Yep.
You know?
And we're the same way. Yeah. There's no contracts or commitments down there. You know, we are launching our new nutrition program that is an 8-week program, and then also one-on-one coaching. My wife is full throttle as well, and she went through and became a certified nutrition coach along the way. In this whole thing, through the help of Christy, same people that Christy went through and all that. And she's passionate about it because she needs to keep herself accountable as well. You know what I mean? So it's just everything, and then there's a big demand for it, you know? And so we decided to launch it off. But my point with all this is that whether it's our nutrition program or even with Josh, like, he doesn't want your money. I don't want your money. We want your results.
Yeah.
You know, that's all we care about, you know? The money, well, and like you told me when I put in the outlet, I'm a bad businessman. You know what I mean?
Bro, I always joke and say that.
Well,
but money's a double-edged sword, right? Because both of us want to be there doing what we're doing to enrich people's lives. Mm-hmm. But the other side of that coin is there's bills to be paid and I need to make a living, right?
Yep.
And I finally come to a place in my life where it's like, I am comfortable with the value that I bring to people and being compensated for that. It's not about me getting fucking rich. It's about me being compensated for a tremendous amount of value that I add to people's lives. And there shouldn't be any negative connotations attached to that. Things of value usually have a monetary price attached to them.
Right.
And it's no different, you know? And it's weird how our culture has kind of demonized money. You know, it's like, oh, he's fucking rich, or he, you know, and it's like, well, if he earned it in a reputable way, that's actually kind of cool and it's honorable, you know?
Yeah.
But we could do a whole nother fucking episode on that, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, obviously, you know, like we would love to give everything away for free.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm that type of person, actually. Like, my wife was like, you need to
the new gym, as we speak, I don't, you haven't been out there today.
Not today.
The roof's up.
Oh, it is.
Or the trusses are up.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of electrical work that needs to be done that you're going to lead that project. And if you don't like money, I would really love if you do it for free. Yeah. No, but the better relationship I have with money, also the more I want to give people their worth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, cause that's what makes the world go round. So,
yeah.
Anything else that was on your mind or shit that we need to cover before we wrap this up?
I think I just want to reiterate on no matter what where you come from, what you've gone through in life. Like I said, I mean, I've battled through stuff. We actually didn't even talk about a lot of the stuff. You know, it's funny how fast time goes.
Like coming up on 3 hours, bro.
Yeah, but just believe that I was a total mess. You know, from drugs to alcohol to anxiety, all this type of stuff. You can do it. You know what I mean? And I know you can do it because I did it. And like I said, I'm just an everyday dude that decided to change his life. You know what I mean? And it might start out with you wanting to walk into a gym and lose some weight, but don't let that be your only goal. You know what I mean? You really got to look a little bit deeper than that. And I had to look at my son, I had to look at my wife, and I had to look at, you know, the fact that I want to live. You know?
Yeah.
And once I started doing this stuff for a healthy lifestyle, that's when things started to change for me, you know? And I'm the oldest I've ever been right now, obviously, right? But I am literally in the best shape of my life, and I feel the best that I've ever felt in my entire life.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And so, yeah. Don't make fun of me for what I eat, you know what I mean? And don't try and tell me that that's wrong. And, you know, if I don't give my kid a Happy Meal or a can of sugar, you know, it starts with us. And it's fucking scary because obesity is
it's the number one killer in our country.
It's the number one killer, you know what I mean? When COVID came around, I didn't care. You know what I mean? It didn't bother me. I mean, I was legit a little bit nervous because I didn't know what the hell was going on. But
once it became clear,
a couple months into it, it's like, okay, well, I'm good to go. You know,
bro, your health and your fitness is the foundation of your resilience.
Yeah, both
physically and emotionally.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, we have all gotten COVID, you know, 2-3 times. You know what I mean? And it's about more than that. You know what I mean? It's if you have the mindset that I just want to, you know, get jacked and tan and all that, that's cool. That might get you through the door, but it's not going to sustain you. And just know that when you're living that healthy lifestyle and surrounding yourself with the positive people, that being jacked and tan is the byproduct of that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just what happens, you know.
If people want to reach out to you, are you comfortable giving your Instagram out?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people are welcome to hit me up.
Okay, I'll add it in the show notes below. Sometimes guests get blown up, sometimes they don't. It just depends on who hears it and who needs to get in touch with someone that they believe has expertise that can help them out. And so I'll add that in the show notes. But bro, there's a lot of people that are hurting, that are sick, that are metabolically sick. And I say it every episode, man, if this episode hits one person's ears that's in a bad spot and this is the catalyst for them to fucking, like you said, step through the door, man, then we're doing a fucking service. And I promise you, like, we will get emails because I get them all the time. We'll get emails in 6 months and be like, bro, episode 121 with that David guy, it made me fucking go down to my local CrossFit gym and now I'm down 40 pounds in my marriage and blah, 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 blah. I take every one of those emails seriously.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where it's like, yeah, of course the formula works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Of course it works.
It does, yeah. I mean, you just got to do a little bit of work, you know what I mean? And it's not even hard. That's the funny thing. What I do, the way that I live right now, this isn't hard anymore. It was hard in the beginning
to get there. Now it's just consistency, man.
It's just what it is, you know what I mean? And that's cool. Like if that's something for you guys to look forward to, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I have easy days because I try and murder myself, you know what I mean? Like, at least, you know, 3-4 times a week, but living this way has become pretty easy.
And dude, this is the last thing I'll say, but it's like, choose your hard.
Yeah.
Right. If you do 100 burpees for time, that's real fucking hard, but having a hard time tying your shoes and having fucking tingling in your toes and having chest pain all day, having to pop that fucking medication, that's also hard.
Yeah.
So choose your fucking hard, right?
And only one ends in a successful path.
There you
know
go.
What I mean? Like that's the reality of it. So yeah, not only choose your hard, but choose your life, you know?
Fuck yeah. All right, man. Thanks, brother. I appreciate this. And this was a good show. And I have no doubts that we'll fucking do it again in the future sometime.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.